What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the BallGame podcast. I am the innocent bystander, Matt Sullivan.
I'm Tom.
I'm Chris.
Got a loaded show today. A whole lot of stuff to talk about. We have a fantasy football draft for the remainder of the NFL season, because obviously we've been through about 2/3 of the NFL season. We know what we have in a lot of these players, so we figured why not pretty much just draft them based on what we expect them to do for the remainder of the season. Very excited for that. We have team grades. Sorry, not player grades. We're not going to grade every single player in the NFL. That'd take a long time.
Yeah, we don't get paid enough for that.
We have team grades, not every single team, just 8 that we hand selected, so that we could talk about them and be sure to mention a bunch of them and why we would give them either any of the grades that we end up handing out to them. It's school time for them. They're in the classroom. They're getting their final grades. But, you know, some of it can change. It's like, what is it, like the third marking period, I'd say, for these teams?
Yeah.
Third marking period. We're in the home stretch now. But, yeah, so I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, all that stuff before we get into it. And before we jump straight into that stuff, obviously we're going to also talk about some Thanksgiving stuff. We will be on tomorrow as well for a basketball podcast. And happy Thanksgiving to all of you ahead of time. I'll be saying the same thing tomorrow. But Matt Canada got fired. An early Christmas present.
For what?
An early Christmas present for the Pittsburgh Steelers fans. An early Christmas present. It ain't even Thanksgiving. And these Pittsburgh Steelers fans are celebrating Christmas. What a time to be alive. Matt Canada obviously got fired for reasons, namely the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers offense fucking sucks. That's quite
That'll
simply.
do it. I mean, his job is to make sure the offense doesn't fucking suck, and it does. So yeah,
and it's one of the worst in the NFL. Kenny Pickett seems like he's gotten worse somehow from last season when he was not good last season either. So I'm intrigued. I wonder if this offense gets better. Obviously, firing your offensive coordinator and then trying to install a new system or install new stuff in general is going to be relatively difficult. But I feel like this one's kind of addition by subtraction, and they can't get much worse. So how do you guys feel? Do you think this improves the Steelers' offense at all for the remainder of the season?
It has to. I mean, at least marginally. I mean, like you said, Kenny Pickett has not been good at all. I saw something on Instagram today. He is the first quarterback since the merger to have a touchdown on less than 2% of his passes. He has like 1.9% of his passes have been touchdowns. The offense just doesn't score points. You have to assume it's going to get better, right? Just because how much worse can it really get? And the Steelers have been finding a way, not this week, but they've been finding a way to win games. And obviously, Steelers fans feel like this is a long time coming, but it's got to get better from here.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the Steelers is we mentioned it last week. They just keep finding a way to win football games. They lost this week to the Browns, but they sit at 6-4. They're in prime position to, compete for a playoff spot. Their defense looks like one of the best in the league. They're second in terms of takeaways in the. Sorry, I can't English. They're second in terms of takeaways in the NFL. We know what T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith could do to you off the edge. They have a star safety in Minkah Fitzpatrick. So we know what their defense could do. The question was their offense, and I mentioned it last week when we talked about it. The run game was starting to get going. They unleashed Jalen Warren. Najee Harris has looked better. Kenny Pickett has struggled in these past few games, and the passing game has struggled, It struggled all season, but it struggled especially in these past 2 games. They've struggled to get anything going through the air. So Matt Canada, whether he was a scapegoat or not, he was the one calling plays. They weren't getting anything explosive down the field. So why not fire him? You know? Why not give someone else a shot? Clearly it wasn't working with Matt Canada.
If he wasn't the problem, he definitely wasn't the answer.
That's a great point.
Tomlin came out and he basically he said Canada's not the scapegoat. He didn't say those exact words, but he was like, we're not just pinning the blame on Matt. Like, it's all our faults. He was like, professionally, he's a great guy. Personally, he's a great guy, this and that. So, yeah, it's like I said, it's got to get better. It can't get much worse from here.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they could do. They're somehow managing to win games, as you said, Chris. So who knows? If the offense even takes a side step, maybe this ends up being a pretty decent team come playoff time. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, since week 8, in terms of rushing EPA, they're 3rd in the league at a .124. The only teams ahead of them are the Ravens and the Lions. In terms of drop back EPA, so when they're passing, they're 24th in the league at a minus .118. So there's a big disparity there. Clearly, they found something in the run game over these past few weeks. But the firing of Matt Canada is obviously because the passing game has struggled. So, hopefully they could open that up a little bit. They have talented receivers.
Yeah,
absolutely.
George Pickens is talented. Deontay Johnson's talented in his own way. They kind of have a peanut butter and jelly thing going on. They're two very different receivers who could, get open and get the ball in different ways. So they're, you have Pat Freiermuth, who's 2 weeks removed from injury now, who's getting back into things. So you have some weapons there.
Has not been involved at all this season.
No. Right. He also has been dealing with injuries.
Yes.
Yeah, but you have some weapons there. And like I said, they're in prime position to, compete for a playoff spot this, last third of the season. So
especially with the Burrow injury.
Right. It just makes sense to, I'm not saying it was all Matt Canada's fault, but like I said, he's the one calling the plays. Like, obviously, the passing game struggling has to be blamed on him in some regard. So something had to change, and it was inevitable almost. Everyone kind of saw it coming. So I'm very curious to see how they bounce back. I will be picking them in the survivor pool this week over the Burrowless Bengals. So hopefully they respond in a good way.
They I also read that they haven't had a 400-yard game under Matt Canada at all.
Sick. They're so good. They are so talented. But yeah,
brighter days in Pittsburgh. Hopefully.
We did just mention it. Joe Burrow, unfortunately, out for the damn season. What a nightmare of an NFL season this has been in terms of injuries. You said it before we went live. I feel like we say this every season, but at the same time, this does feel different.
It feels
lost
different.
7 starting quarterbacks?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a lot of quarterbacks this year. It's unreal.
Kirk, Rodgers, and Burrow affect the playoff picture.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that genuinely affects the playoff picture. Of course, there's been other injuries like Daniel Jones. That sucks. I'm definitely missing a few because there's Watson. That massively affects the playoff picture. The Browns might end up making it no matter what, but we could have been talking about them potentially being a Super Bowl contender had that not happened. Like, that's a legitimate thing. But injuries have sucked, and the Browns, that wasn't even the only major injury they've had this season. Nick Chubb, obviously. Just terrible. Joe Burrow, man, get well soon. To everybody who has been injured this NFL season, get well soon. And Aaron Rodgers, maybe we see you soon. Who knows?
Christmas miracle.
Outside of that, the only other notable piece of news that I wanted to talk about was Shaq Leonard. Shaq Leonard got released by the Colts. He fell out of favor, wasn't getting as much playing time, nearly as much playing time as he had been in the past few seasons. He had a massive injury, I believe it was 1 or 2 years ago, and he kind of lost the step since then. Not a huge deal, but he should end up helping the depth of one of these contenders, I would assume, namely the Buffalo Bills, which I see a glaring hole at linebacker there, and I think they may end up signing him.
Darius Garland just hit a ridiculous 3.
Darius Garland's had a sick game. He's had a crazy game.
He literally just chalked it up and banked it in.
but yeah, so that's just some of the news and notes from the NFL season so far and NFL this week. So I guess we could hop right into it. All right. So yesterday, for most fantasy football leagues, was the trade deadline. And also, actually, before we even get into this, you may be wondering why I'm wearing a Patriots jersey, by the way. It's because the Giants are playing them this week. And I just want the Giants to embrace the tank. Unfortunately, Sam Howell did not want the Giants to embrace the tank. And that occurred. And we, ended up winning.
The fuck does that have to do with the mid-season fantasy football draft?
Before we get into it,
you were already halfway through your intro.
I did. Not for Sam Howell slander. For
fantasy football redraft. Sam Howell is the number 8 player in all fantasy football scoring right now.
It don't fucking matter.
It does.
It don't fucking matter.
I mean,
he's going
for the
undrafted.
Yeah, that's why I'm wearing a Patriots jersey.
Definitely was.
They're gonna beat us this week. I hope. tank for Caleb, tank for Drake. That's it. That was my little monologue there. Anyways, 2/3 of the fantasy football season is over. Well, 2/3 of the NFL season is over. Most of the fantasy football season is over. I believe there's 2 or 3 more weeks of your regular season remaining. Obviously, this is the playoff push time. So what players do we think are going to have the biggest impacts for the remainder of the fantasy football season? I'm intrigued to hear what you guys have to say. And yeah, so trade deadline definitely just passed yesterday for most of your leagues. So your rosters are going to be mostly locked in. We'll see what happens from here. So, all right. Who's going to get this first overall pick?
So we're doing this as if it's a standard league, correct?
Yes.
I just want to make sure standard.
Yes.
Like,
Quarterback,
well, PPR,
PPR, yeah,
PPR,
okay.
but
Full
standard
PPR,
quarterback, like
1 quarterback, 12
quarterbacks.
Yes, QB, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver,
Yeah.
tight end, and double
Yeah.
flex.
But we're not
It's
drafting a team.
yeah,
Right.
true.
We're just going to go
doing
through
the
the
draft
draft
board,
board.
yeah.
We're going to do the first 4 rounds. We're going to do 48 picks in this case, first 4 rounds, and we shall go from there. So, all right. Tom, you know what? You go ahead. Start us off. We're going to just do 1, 2, 3, and then back to Tom.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
go from there.
I'll start us off. I think maybe not a no-brainer, but I think it's a no-brainer. With the 101, I'm going to select Christian McCaffrey. You never like to go positional in the early part of the draft, and there's definitely another guy you could have went with here. But the running back position has gotten torn apart. And to have the best running back in fantasy football by a crazy margin, might I add, he has 241.9 points on the year, and the next running back is Mostert with 180.9. So he's the RB1 that's not even close. Christian McCaffrey, fantasy monster. Love the guy.
You have Mostert at 180.9. Why is this?
Do I not?
Why
am I not
why is
supposed
my scoring different? What in the world?
Are you going to full PPR?
Yeah. I have Travis Etienne at number 2, but
Yeah, whatever.
yeah, whatever. Don't matter that much. All right, so with the second overall pick, I think it's pretty obvious. It's Tyreek Hill.
Oh, man.
The man has dominated. He has been unbelievable. And on any given week, the guy could go for 50. His floor this season was 10.2 points, and that was week 4. His ceiling has been as high as 44.5, and then you have multiple 30-point games, multiple 25-point games. He's been pretty much the most consistent fantasy producer this year, and every game is a big game for Tyreek Hill. So he's easily the second pick in this draft.
So with the third pick, this might come as a shock, but I'm going to go with a guy who's been balling out. Sorry, I'm just pulling up stats.
You're good.
I'm going to go with Mr. CD Lamb.
Oh,
That's who I would have
yep,
picked.
that's
yeah.
exactly
CD
what I would have
Lamb,
taken too.
You know, currently he's the wide receiver 3. He has 214 total points on the season. He's having a career year, but especially the past couple of weeks, he's been pretty insane over the past 4 weeks. I mean, I have it in front of me. In terms of yards, he clears everyone by over 100 yards since week 8. He's 538 yards since week 8. The next closest is Keenan Allen at 437. He's 4 touchdowns over that span, 53 targets, which is also the most in that span. Obviously, also the most receptions. CeeDee Lamb looks like he's taken his game to another level, and his rapport with Dak Prescott has jumped to another level. He's clearly, obviously we all knew CeeDee Lamb was the number 1 target there in Dallas going into the season, but I think at this point in the season, might be the number 1 target in the entire NFL the way he's producing right now. He's producing over the past 4 weeks as the best receiver in football,
Yes.
in fantasy football. So I'm going with CeeDee Lamb.
He also set an NFL record, most consecutive games of 150-plus yards and 10-plus catches, which was 3 in a row. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, that'll do it. So it's
Back to you.
Oh, it's back to me?
Yeah.
Oh,
We're just
okay.
going to go like that.
I wasn't ready for this. Fuck. I really wanted to pick another guy. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to take Amon-Ra St. Brown here.
Ooh.
And that might be a little bit of a shocker, but I just feel like for fantasy, he's like your dream player. He gets so many targets. He catches so many passes, and he's always a threat to get a touchdown. on a great offense where he's the number one target by a landslide. And even if the other guys are getting involved, Amon-Ra seems to always find a way to get his. I mean, I'm pulling up the numbers here. He's the wide receiver 6, and that's with a game missed already.
Yeah.
His lowest scoring game this season was week 2 with 14.2. It doesn't get much more. It doesn't get more reliable than that. So, the Sun God is my pick here.
Yeah. I spoke about 4s with Tyreek Hill, and Amon-Ra probably has the safest 4 in the entire league. All right. With all that being said, I feel like I have to stick at the wide receiver position. And although he did just have a really rough game, his worst game of the entire season, the man's been an animal all year. I'm going to rely on the fact that him and Jalen Hurts are going to be perfectly fine. He has an easy schedule for the remainder of the season in terms of wide receiver matchups, all green rated except for one, and I'm taking A.J. Brown without question for the remainder of this football season.
I just want to say I had a league where I was up by 2.5 points last night, and I was playing A.J. Brown, and I won. Because he only put up 1 point.
You were probably like, oh, well, that's
I didn't even look at it because I saw, like, after Sunday, I'm like, oh, well, I'm up by 2, and this guy has A.J. Brown to play. And then I looked, like, mid-game, because someone did a trade, so I wanted to see what it was. And it said I had a 44% chance to win. I was like, what? And I was like, wait, A.J. Brown is doing shit. And he didn't do shit. So
44 with the whole half to go is wild, though. For him to get, like, pretty much just
it was like, it was like, bro, he had 1 catch
for 8
I think
yards,
the first quarter, and then didn't catch another ball.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's still a great pick, though.
So, with my next pick, this might come as another surprise, but I'm going to go with Travis Etienne here. I think Travis Etienne's been great so far this season. He's the RB3 right now. You know, he has 7 touchdowns on the year. He's third in the entire, tied for second actually in the entire NFL in attempts this year. He's been pretty good in terms of receiving the ball too. And I think this Jaguars offense as a whole has another level they can reach as an overall offense. So I think that automatically translates to Travis Etienne having another level that he can reach. And he's already been great this year. I think there's a chance that Travis Etienne could finish the year as the RB1 overall, honestly.
Yes.
I mean, he's right there right now, so why not? So I'm gonna go with Travis Etienne. I believe in him, and I believe in the Jaguars.
It's an uphill battle with McCaff as high as he is.
Yeah, McCaff is just so far ahead in points,
Yeah.
but the theory's there. Man, this is tough.
Do you stick running back or do you shift?
Well, so that's what I was thinking at first, and then I'm like, wait, I'm not really building a team. I'm just trying to say, like, I have the, whatever it is, 8th pick.
This would be
Who am I taking here?
7.
7?
This would be the 7th pick.
I feel like based on what I've seen, I got to go Keenan Allen.
Good pick. That was exactly what I was gonna take.
This guy's been a monster all year, and I mean, I guess there's kind of a theme. I'm picking Keenan Allen and Amon-Ra St. Brown. They're low floor guys because Keenan Allen's always been that guy, though.
Floor.
Yeah, high floor. I'm sorry. Thank you.
I got you.
Keenan Allen's always been that guy, though. Like, you know, any week he's good to get 10 catches, and in a full PPR, you can't ask for much more than that. He's had 1 down game of like 9 points, but he's had 2 40-point games. Like, the guy's just been an absolute monster, and Lord knows Herbert needs his help, so he's going to keep throwing him the ball. I don't see any reason to switch that up.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so it kind of gets tough for me. So I'm gonna take a very simple route here. I'm gonna go with, and this is kind of crazy being that it's only the 8th pick now, but I'm gonna draft a position that I know I'm gonna get very safe and steady production, and I know I'm gonna get points on a weekly basis. I'm gonna take Josh Allen here. Because I know on a weekly basis the floor for Josh Allen is right around 22 points. And the advantage that he gives you over most other quarterbacks in terms of fantasy football, being that he's outscored the next highest one by 30 points, I'm going to take that advantage that's given to me by Josh Allen, and I'm going to draft him here.
So with my With my next pick, I'm gonna go with Jalen Hurts for pretty much the same reasons. Just Jalen Hurts is the QB2 in comparison to the QB1. But like you said, Jalen Hurts is a guy where you know what you're getting from Jalen Hurts pretty much every week. I mean, you even look at last night's game. He didn't have a good game by any stretch of the imagination, but 2 rushing touchdowns. He finished with 20 points. That's the floor for Jalen Hurts, 20 points. So I'm going to take that guy. I think there's, it's Josh Allen and it's Jalen Hurts right now in terms of quarterbacks, and then there's a tier break.
Yes, so. I agree.
Yeah, absolutely, because I'm not taking a quarterback.
Wild that Brian Robinson is running back 4.
These running backs are crazy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous right now. Rashad
Gus
White
Edwards is the
running back
RB11.
5
Gus Edwards is an
RB6.
RB1, you know?
Yes.
Like, that's where we're at right now.
Yeah. That's fucking ridiculous.
It's just insane. That being said, I'm between 2 running backs, but I'm gonna go with the rookie Jahmyr Gibbs. This guy's been lighting it up the past few weeks, and I know the first few weeks, if you had him like I did, actually the first 4 weeks, his highest was 12.6, and then the next 2 weeks he didn't play, but he came back since then. 27, 29, bye week 26, 21. This guy's here to stay. He's going to catch passes out of the backfield. He's only getting better as a player as the season progresses, and so that's only a reason to integrate him more into the offense. And also, I believe their schedule is pretty favorable for him. And when you're coming down the stretch of a fantasy football season, the schedule matters. So I'm going to take Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, he's about the 12th best running back schedule.
Yeah, so he's going to get the volume, and you always want a guy that's a threat to score touchdowns. So I'll take Jahmyr Gibbs.
All right, this is kind of tough. I feel like we've reached the point where I'm just like, oof, okay, now I'm thinking a little bit. All right, I'm going to take the other receiver remaining that I would say is in the tier with all the guys that we've previously mentioned. He's coming off his 2 worst fantasy producing games this season so far, which, doesn't bode well, but I'm going to trust it. He's got a few great matchups, especially in the final 2 weeks of the season, and that's usually when you need your guys to perform the most.
Sure.
I'm going to take Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
I think he'll be perfectly fine. I think the big games are coming, and I think Buffalo hopefully somehow figures it out without Ken Dorsey.
So this here is where I'm going to take Alvin Kamara.
I was thinking of that
I
one as well.
was going between him and Gibbs. Yeah.
I mean, since he came back in week 4, he's the RB5, and and on the season as a whole, he's clearing all NFL running backs in terms of targets with 56. Like, he's clearly one of the few guys in the NFL who's a threat out of the backfield in the passing game. We know Alvin Kamara could score 6 touchdowns in a single game. He could have a game where he explodes. So I know with Alvin Kamara, he's going to see the ball. There's going to be high leverage, high volume touches there for him. So, and he's been good in those touches so far this year. So I don't see why that doesn't continue.
Yeah.
So it's back to me, right?
Yes.
We're in the second round now?
We are now entering the second round.
You took Diggs.
Yeah, it starts to break off.
Yeah, there's
here.
definitely a tier drop here, I think. At the top of the second, I'm gonna go running back again. I'm gonna go DeAndre Swift. There's something about I don't like taking running backs in bad offenses because usually, no matter how good the guy is,
the floor is bad.
The floor is really low, and I just feel like with Swift, if they're up in a game, which the Eagles are up in a lot of games, he's going to run the ball a lot, and especially on the Eagles' offense, he's going to run the ball a lot. And he's going to score touchdowns. He's great in the passing game. He had a little bit of a slump for like a couple weeks, but he's a beast. I love DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take him there.
10th best running back schedule for the remainder of the season.
Absolutely, yeah.
And only 1 game with less than 10 points since week 2. So DeAndre Swift is a great pick.
And the other thing is, like I said, the running backs are just spread so thin, I feel like.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
which is why for me, this will definitely come as a surprise. But I'm going to take a guy who notoriously goes off late in the season. You know, just gets stronger as that season progresses. He has a phenomenal playoff schedule for fantasy football, and it's a guy that I would definitely want on my fantasy team for playoff time, and it's Derrick Henry. It's a little early for him. He's only the RB16 to this point, but we are drafting for the remainder of the season as well, and I'm keeping in mind the fact that this man has Houston, Seattle, and Houston. 3 green-rated matchups in weeks 15 through 17, which are the playoff weeks, and Carolina and Indianapolis for the next 2 weeks. So in that playoff push, I want my guys to be productive. The floor is pretty rough for Derrick Henry. We've seen that the last couple weeks with Will Levis, but I think come playoff time, Derrick Henry will be very productive for your fantasy football team.
So for that exact same logic, I'm going to go with Austin Eckler here. I think he's a steal at this point in the draft. I mean, Austin Eckler on the year is what? He's the RB25, but he missed
a couple
3
few
games.
yeah.
He missed. You know, he is an RB2 finish. He has 2 RB4 finishes, an RB6 finish. He just came off his worst game, his second worst game so far this season. He had 7 points. He obviously had the viral clip of him looking slow, but we know what Austin Eckler could do as a pass catcher.
Bad.
I mean, I'm looking at it here. So like I said, this past week he had 7 points. In week 7, he had 5.6 points. Other than that, that's his lowest point total since week 4 of 2020, where he had 2.4. Other than that, everything else has pretty much been above double digits. So we know what the floor is with Austin Eckler. He's going to see targets. He's going to get the ball down in the goal line. He's going to see all the important touches for the Chargers pretty much. He's one of the better pass catchers in the NFL still at the running back position. So I think Austin Eckler is a steal at this point.
I really want to take a receiver, but there's a guy that I feel like I can't let him fall. The other rookie, Bijan Robinson.
Fuck, I was going to take him.
Yeah, when you said that Henry was the RB16, I was like, you know what? I'm looking too much at the position. I got to scroll down a little bit. And there he was. And his playoff schedule was a dream. Carolina, Indy, Chicago. I mean, doesn't get much better than that. Bijan is a beast. He's also getting acclimated into the offense more as the season goes on. I would not want to put my fantasy championship hopes in the hands of Arthur Smith.
Smith's hands.
But at this point, you know, second round, I'm comfortable taking the risk here, taking Bijan Robinson.
Another point about Bijan is I know he's already seen a lot of touches, even though it's not as many as we would want. He's still seen a good amount of touches. Rookie running backs tend to not get going fantasy-wise until after the bye. They're coming off their bye week. I'm with you. I expect Bijan to be unleashed these next couple of weeks.
And I mean, look, the week prior to the bye, he had 22 carries.
Right.
So
it looks like they made a decision that they want to unleash him. Now they had a week of preparation to figure out how they're gonna unleash him. So yeah, Bijan should really turn it up. I
very much would need that for my dynasty team right now, being that I just lost Mark Andrews too, which is a fucking heartbreaker. I had 3 just a quick side note. I had 3 tight ends going into the season in my dynasty league. Mark Andrews, Darren Waller, and Luke Musgrave. All 3 are going to miss this week.
Yeesh.
I have none at the current moment.
Taysom Hill for a second.
Well, I can't trade now. It's past the trade deadline. He tried to get a second out of me for Taysom. I'm like, bro, come on, bro.
Wild.
Like, that's insane. But anyways, all right. So with my next pick, it does get a little difficult from here. I'm struggling here. This is crazy. And you said you don't like taking players from a bad offense. I'm going to go ahead and reach on a guy that the floor has been surprisingly high in the last few weeks. I gave him shit in the past, said he's ineffective.
Come on, man.
No,
And he's been very good.
Come on, man.
He's been very
tried to tell everyone,
very
man.
good.
Draft Richard White, bro. Come on.
His last 5 weeks, 15.9, 17.9, 27.9, 17.8, and 17.8. He loves 8 and 9s. Yeah, he's been incredibly productive. It's Rachaad White. His ceiling is pretty decently high if he scores a touchdown or two. His floor is decent in fantasy football, given that he catches a bunch of passes out of the backfield. And he's looked a lot more spry recently. He just tore Talanoa Hufanga's ACL for him, so that was kind of wild. But yeah, shout out to Rachaad White, man. It's been unbelievable.
So with this next pick, I might be drafting based on nostalgia and false hope, but I have to go with Travis Kelce here. I just have to.
Oh, wow.
I know he hasn't been in his same self so far this season. I know he's older. I know he's dealing with injuries, but it's Travis Kelce. His quarterback is Patrick Mahomes. And if I was drafting a team for the rest of the season, I would want Travis Kelce to be on that team. When he's on, he's clearly the best tight end in all of football, and that's an advantage that can't be valued enough in fantasy football. So I think Travis Kelce is the pick for me here.
All right.
Especially with the Mark Andrews injury.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Makes a guy like Travis Kelce that much more valuable.
I've picked 3 straight running backs. I'm gonna. Oh man, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna break the streak. I'm gonna take Brandon Ayuk here. Brandon Ayuk is coming off a monster week. He's been great all season. I know there's the issue of the crowded offense. He's the wide receiver 15. He missed week 3. He's had some bad weeks, but he gets Seattle, Philly, Seattle, Arizona, Baltimore, Washington. Doesn't get much better than that in terms of schedule. And Brock Purdy loves Brandon Ayuk, and if the 49ers are in positions to score touchdowns, he is going to look for Brandon Ayuk, and he's another guy that's just kind of been getting better as the season goes on the football field. So I expect him to be way more involved, or at least as involved.
So this next one's going to come, again, as a bit of a surprise. Matthew Stafford is currently healthy. Cooper Kupp is not. Given all of that, the man that went off early season, insane to say that he's getting picked in the second round of a redraft when he was going undrafted to start the season. And that is Puka Nacua. The schedule isn't incredibly favorable, but if we talk about the start of the season without Cooper Kupp, first 2 weeks, 15 and 20 targets off the bat, 7, 10, 11 after that. I trust what Puka's capable of with a healthy Matthew Stafford, and especially with Cooper Kupp out of the lineup. So Puka for the remainder of the season.
Oh, man. I'm in a tough position here. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to take Raheem Mostert.
Yeah.
Been great this year. Has 11 touchdowns, which is the most amongst all running backs. He's almost at 700 yards, second in the league, playing in a great offense that should be down in the red zone a lot. I know Devon Achane may be back, may not be back. I don't know what his deal is with his injury, but Raheem Mostert's been great with him and without him. So I'm going to take Mostert here.
So this is the last round of picks, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I might be drafting my heart a little bit here, but I still think it's a great pick. I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley. And I know I said I don't like taking guys on bad offenses, and he is on the worst offense I've ever seen in my life. But that being said, he's the only guy that can do anything on this team. He's going to get targets. He's going to get carries. Health is a concern. He's missed 3 games, but with missing 3 games, with the offense being the disaster that it is, he's still the RB15. So he could easily work his way up into that RB1, into an RB1. So I'm taking Saquon.
It's a surprise that he's fallen this far. But we were talking about running backs for the rest of the season, and I know a guy that just got 88% of the snaps in his last game. Didn't play the first half of the season, or the first 5 games of the season or so, and that's Jonathan Taylor. I expect his usage to stay increased. He had 23 carries and 18 the game before. He hasn't been incredibly efficient, but when we're talking volume, there's not many in the league that are going to get more of that than Jonathan Taylor over the next few weeks of the fantasy season.
All right, and with the last pick, the same reason I drafted Travis Kelce, I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes here. It's Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the world. Doesn't really need an explanation.
Yep.
Okay.
Undrafted guys, Tank Dell.
What was that? That was 2 full rounds, right?
Yeah.
4 rounds.
We
yeah.
can't go any longer.
We cannot go any longer with this.
Josh Jacobs went undrafted.
There were a couple. There was one that my next pick was going to be Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams with
sure.
with Aiden O'Connell has averaged 12 targets per game.
Yeah.
So Devontae Adams is going to be my next pick.
Shout out Adam Thielen, man.
Yes.
Wide receiver 10.
Shout out to
Like,
Adam Thielen.
who knew?
Bro.
Who knew?
Yeah. DJ Moore is another very intriguing one because one with Fields.
DJ Moore, it's just he's bolstered. When you look at the rankings, it's like, ooh, DJ Moore. But when you really think about it, he had that one insane game.
Yeah.
That really
That I
boosted.
played
He's
him.
definitely been
To
solid.
be
this
fair,
year. Yeah.
with Justin Fields.
Yeah, he's definitely been solid, but compared to his ranking, he's like, you know what I mean? He's ranked a little bit high. Obviously, he went undrafted, so he's obviously ranked higher than we would draft him in terms of his points scored this season. All right.
Yes.
Let's have a conversation.
Oh, boy.
Let's do it. It's kind of what we do on here.
We
It
do
is a
lot of that.
podcast. We do have conversations.
So
We need to have a conversation about Justin Herbert. The discourse around Justin Herbert is cooked.
That was
filthy.
filthy.
Beautiful.
That
Wow,
was
that's,
filthy by Max Christie.
Max Christie?
Jesus.
The pass was nuts.
The discourse around Justin Herbert's cooked, and I don't like it. So the Los Angeles Chargers just lost to the Green Bay Packers. They had multiple chances to potentially win this game and put it away, and a multitude of factors stopped them from doing so. The coaching, players dropping balls, players slipping on the turf,
Yeah.
a bunch of things. And in this particular instance, I say it's not Justin Herbert's fault. He objectively did everything he could to win this game. He was near perfect, the highest graded quarterback on PFF for the week. When you watch the tape back, obviously Quentin Johnson should have caught that ball. Austin Eckler shouldn't have
Boy,
split.
fucking sucks.
Keenan Allen could have caught that touchdown. But why can't the discourse around Justin Herbert be that Justin Herbert is a very good quarterback who plays on one of the worst organizations in the NFL in terms of luck and just some of their front office decisions? Because the Chargers, we know all our lifetime they've been unlucky. They didn't have any luck with Drew Brees, not with P. River, not having any with Justin Herbert. We can acknowledge that. And we can also acknowledge the fact that Justin Herbert isn't in the tier with Mahomes, with Burrow, with Lamar, with, at this point, Jalen Hurts, with Josh Allen, I guess. Josh Allen probably. Because he hasn't done it in meaningful games. And that's okay. That doesn't make me say Justin Herbert isn't a great quarterback. He's a very good quarterback. But he is outside of that tier of players because due to many circumstances, the coaching, the defense, the offensive players not catching balls, and at certain times him. Many reasons, he hasn't had the chance really to do anything meaningful besides last year in the playoffs where he and his squad, because he is a part of the team, they blew a 27-7 lead at halftime. So I can't say, you have people last night who were saying, oh, Mahomes' receivers didn't catch a ball, so we're going to give Mahomes a pass. But when it happens to Herbert, we have to shit on him. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree with shitting on Herbert. Like I said, this game isn't on him. But there's levels to this stuff. Justin Herbert isn't Mahomes. Mahomes is a 2-time Super Bowl fucking MVP. Like Mahomes is different than everyone else. But it just bothers me that there is no middle ground with this guy, Justin Herbert. It's either he's elite, he's the second best quarterback in the league, he's right behind Mahomes, he could do everything Mahomes has, give him a team and watch what happens, he'll be the best in the league, or it's Justin Herbert is a known choker, he'll never win anything meaningful, blah, 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 blah. Why can't it just be a middle ground with Justin Herbert that says Justin Herbert is a very good quarterback who has talent like no one else, honestly. He's one of, if not the most talented guy in the league at the quarterback position. But he can't be ranked with those other guys who have won playoff games, who have Super Bowl appearances, who have MVPs. He can't be in that conversation with those guys right now. That every other guy, Lamar Jackson, who's won an MVP and has actually won a playoff game, we still struggle to put in that conversation.
Well, we as in football discourse,
Right.
yes.
I mean, I don't mean you guys. I just mean
Right.
football discourse
Yeah.
in general. We struggle to put Lamar Jackson in that conversation. We struggle to put Jalen Hurts in that conversation, who was just second in MVP and showed up on the biggest stage.
Yeah, which also doesn't
biggest-
make any sense to me. Yeah,
the
I don't know
biggest
how
stage.
people.
He showed up on the biggest stage.
You gave Jalen Hurts flack though.
I did.
Yeah.
I didn't give him flack. I just had him ranked below a few guys.
That was wild.
I just had him ranked below a few guys. I didn't really give him flack, but the thing is, Jalen Hurts, yes, he's had that opportunity because of the team he plays on, and Justin Herbert hasn't had that opportunity, and that's okay. Maybe he will have that opportunity, maybe he won't, but we just can't rank him with the guys who have had that opportunity and have shown up on that stage. It just doesn't work because for other guys, we don't do that.
Okay.
Look at a guy like LeBron, for example. I know it's a different sport, but this is just sports discourse in general. LeBron, it's extreme because of who he was and the expectations on him. But just in general, if you're with me, LeBron James, we didn't give LeBron any credit until he won. Any credit. Now, I'm not saying Justin Herbert has to win a Super Bowl, go 17-0, be the unanimous MVP. I'm not saying that.
Win a playoff game.
Win a playoff game. Win a playoff game.
Or don't blow a 27-point lead in a playoff game.
Right, win a playoff game.
So, I
acknowledge the fact that he's
with you.
great.
Like, I understand what you're getting at. I get all that. And I texted in the chat, obviously prior to the podcast, and you guys don't see all that, but I texted he's the second most talented quarterback in the NFL, which I firmly believe. I don't think there's any doubt. But in the same respects, I understand where you're coming from, and I get all that. But when you mentioned all those quarterbacks, they also have a team around them that aids them when they don't play at their best. Like, except for maybe Josh Allen. Because we could have the conversation that Buffalo has no other way of winning except Josh Allen being fucking Superman.
We've said that before.
Which
yeah.
is the truth. And that's what makes Josh Allen so special, but that's also the downfall of Josh Allen
Right.
because that's all he knows.
But you look at these other teams. You look at, Josh Allen. The Bills were nothing before Josh Allen. You look at the Bengals. Yes, they're a great team. They've become a great team over the past few years.
When they made the Super Bowl, that was a lot of their defense.
Their team building has been impeccable over the years, but we have to mention the fact that the Bengals were nothing before Joe Burrow.
For sure.
You look at the Ravens. The Ravens, obviously, they're not really a dynasty, but the Ravens, in terms of they've been good our whole lives.
Yes,
Yeah,
the Ravens.
1,000%.
But a guy like Lamar Jackson did something that's never been done before. He won a unanimous MVP. You know?
Yeah.
Like, that's an accolade that can't be understated. You know, and Justin Herbert just hasn't done any of that. And again, I'm not saying it's entirely his fault. Like, we can acknowledge the fact that Justin Herbert's a really good quarterback. He doesn't have the accolades and, you know, hasn't performed in the big stage like some of the other guys have, just because he hasn't had the opportunity to perform on the big stage, which, again, like my original point, some of it, most of it, is the coaching, the defense, guys dropping passes, all that stuff. But part of it is, I watched 3 times in the beginning of this year him have a chance to win games, and he didn't come through. And the guys on the other side of the spectrum were saying, oh, it's not his fault, it's not his fault, it's not his fault, when he could have won the game. Versus the Dolphins, he had a chance to win the game. Versus the Titans, it was disgusting in week 2. It was disgusting what he did when he had a chance to win the game.
I agree.
It was disgusting. The only time we've seen him on a big stage, actually no, because 2 years ago he played
One playoff.
get into the playoffs versus the Raiders, where they
Raiders, yeah.
lost, but he was elite in that one too.
Yeah.
He was insane. Game-winning
Yes.
drives, 4th and 13 throw. So I'll give him that one. That was a big stage where he did show up. But you look at the only time, a bigger stage, the playoffs, he blew a 27-7 lead. And again, that's not all his fault. They didn't have a run game going. We talked about that, you know, very, very, very much. We talked about that game.
Yeah, we did.
And it was a multitude of things were the reason they blew that lead. But any quarterback blowing a 27-7 lead, they're going to get flack.
You have to.
That's how sports analysis works.
The other
no matter who
thing
you are.
about sports analysis is like you said, your circumstances do matter. Like, it's optics. It's how the situation looks. And if you're not, at the end of the day, especially quarterbacks in the NFL, what do we praise them for most? is elevating the team around them. I'm not saying Herbert's not doing that. I'm not saying he's not doing everything he can, but like it's just a shitty situation to be in. We also say that a lot in sports. Some guys are just in shitty situations. Herbert is a guy in a shitty situation where his reputation is going to suffer because of his circumstances.
Yeah.
And just on a surface
that's how it goes.
level,
That's how it works.
Right. And just on a surface level, when we talk about a quarterback elevating his team, what's the first thing we look to?
Wins.
Right.
Right.
We look at a guy
the
like
best quarterback stat is wins.
Right. Yeah.
That's point blank
and whether
period.
it's
I agree.
fair or not isn't up for us to determine. That's just the way things are done. That's the way things have been done forever. Again, I mentioned a guy like LeBron, who again, him and Justin Herbert don't belong in the same conversation, but you guys get what I'm putting down there. We didn't.
If someone like him doesn't get the credit he deserves,
right?
Then why the fuck should Justin Herbert?
And that's why I'm just upset about it, because after this game, where again I can acknowledge the fact that this one wasn't on him. He played nearly perfect. Everyone's coming out of the woodworks. See, this is why Justin Herbert is the second best quarterback in the NFL. He was so good in this game, and they lost. We have to respect Justin Herbert. Like, no. We do.
Well, you can. Yeah, you can respect Justin Herbert. Yeah, exactly.
Without being outlandish about it.
I'm just not so sure that he's not in the worst situation in the entire NFL. Like, that's my thing. Like, I genuinely believe he is in one of the 5 worst situations in the entire NFL, given that he has arguably the worst coach in the NFL.
Right.
Which, you're a defensive-minded coach that can't get your side of the ball correct at the current moment.
Right.
You have the worst defense in the NFL. They're the worst against the best and the best against the worst. So, like, their stats may look like even a semblance better than being the worst defense in the league, but when they play good teams, they are atrocious.
Right.
And then you have that worst head coach. You have no semblance of a running game whatsoever. Your number 2 receiver is injured. Your fucking team botched your draft pick, so that dude is ass. And instead of having potentially Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison, who have both already proven that they're better than Quentin Johnston, might I add. And I'm not saying Justin Herbert goes without fault. All the things you've stated are true, like, no doubt. But I'm not so sure that we can't give him a pass given the situation when it is this bad. If he had a little bit more around him, and he had one of those things going right, like, if you look at all those quarterbacks you listed, there's a bunch of things that are going correct with those situations. Like, Joe Burrow has arguably the best trio of receivers in the entire NFL. He has Joe Mixon behind him. He has a defense that's actually been successful in the playoffs for him, which helped him get to the Super Bowl. He did not have a great playoff run, and that's what people forget. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill when he won his first Super Bowl. Andy Reid, who you could argue is the greatest offensive mind in NFL history.
So can I counter that?
Right. Yeah.
So I agree with what you're saying. The other guys who we have ahead of him have more help, but also those other guys have performed in the high leverage situations that they've been in that Justin Herbert hasn't had the opportunity to be in. Because you look at a guy like Tua. Tua's in a better situation than Justin Herbert. Tua's counting stats this season are better than Justin Herbert's. Are we going to say Tua's better than Justin Herbert? No. Are we going to say Brock Purdy's better than Justin Herbert? No. So 2 things could be true. Justin Herbert could be in the worst situation out of the group, but also because of that, it's a cause and effect thing. Because of that, he hasn't performed like the other guys have, like a Joe Burrow, like a Pat Mahomes, like even a Josh Allen. We've seen Josh Allen in playoff moments show up. Yeah. When the team needed Josh Allen the most, we've seen him show up in a playoff game. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen that with Justin Herbert, and that's okay. That's okay. He's still young. Like, there's not a doubt in my mind.
Only his 4th season.
Right. There's not a doubt in my mind that Justin Herbert will be back in the playoffs at some point before it's all said and done.
I fucking hope so.
I agree with Chris, because when you're talking about the best of the best, like, I can't put you. But I can't put you up there based on what I think I'm going to see. Yeah. It has to be based on what I've seen.
When you're talking about the best of the best, there's no passes.
100%. 100%.
Justin Herbert, in a microscope, when we're just talking about Justin Herbert, gets a pass because of some of the things that have gone on around him. But when we're talking about Justin Herbert in comparison to other guys who are at the top of the top, who we don't give a pass to, then
So
no.
I'd say he gets a pass, not gets a pass, but it'll make sense. When you're talking about guys like Tua, Dak Prescott, like he can be compared with those guys, that's fine. But when you're talking about Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, like you said, guys who have done things, won MVPs, won Super Bowls, you can't been to Super Bowls because even getting to the Super Bowl is nearly impossible in the NFL. It seems like
Winning is everything. That's
Winning
why
is
we
everything.
regard Joe Burrow
winning
so
is
high.
exactly
Yeah.
He
yeah.
doesn't
So
have an MVP, nor has he won
Yeah.
a Super Bowl, but he's had
He
an
made it.
elite playoff run.
Yeah.
He's strung together 3 games where it matters the absolute most and made it to the Super Bowl, made it to the big dance.
He wasn't phenomenal, but he had his moments. He had the moments that mattered.
Right.
he went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm not a guy who, like, even when we talk about basketball, it's definitely more prevalent in basketball discourse because basketball discourse is completely cooked.
Oh, fucking
Football, you
hell,
could at
man.
least have some conversations.
Yeah.
That's why I bring this to attention because I think the Herbert stuff is just the nastiest shit, the nastiest conversation in all of football right now, in all of football discourse, and all these podcasts and all this shit. But in basketball, like, I honestly just lost my entire train of thought. I'm not gonna lie. Whatever.
No, I get what you're saying. I understand, and I get where we're at with the whole Justin
Like,
Herbert
right,
thing.
ring
I want
culture,
them
that's
to
what I
make the
was saying.
playoffs so
Like-
fucking bad, but
Like,
they
I
won't.
value winning, but I also can acknowledge the fact that there are sometimes outside circumstances that stop guys from winning. But when I'm comparing the best of the best, it's picking hairs, and guys who I've seen when everyone in the world is watching, and especially in terms of guys who've played in Super Bowls and shown up when everyone in the world is watching.
Yeah.
Right.
I've seen them show up versus a guy who, again, in his only playoff game blew a 27-7 lead. It's hard to have. And I'm not, like, I don't even think it should be a conversation of, like, Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert, even Jalen Hurts and Justin Herbert. Like, I don't even think those should be conversation. Like,
No,
I don't think
I
Justin
totally
Herbert
agree
is
with
in
you.
that tier with those guys right now.
See,
I'm
that's
cool with
where I
Justin Herbert
disagree.
being the start of the second tier, but when there's guys who have hardware and who have moments when it matters the most, that matters to me.
But I also don't think Jalen Hurts, no disrespect to Hurts, like no disrespect to some of these quarterbacks, they're not in the same tiers. Like Mahomes
Mahomes
is
is
tier
in his own
one.
Mahomes is in tier of his own.
Mahomes
Absolutely.
is tier one.
Absolutely.
Like, no
Tier of
doubt
his own.
about it. But even last night, like there were throws that like he missed. Like, but that's every quarterback. Like you're going.
He wins
to
the
do
game,
that.
you don't care.
Yeah.
MVS
You're
catches
going
that,
to
you
do
don't
that.
I think there's many tiers at the top. Mahomes is in his own tier. Me personally, I know the turnovers are a problem, but I acknowledge the special talent that he is. I still have Joe Burrow and Josh Allen in a tier.
In a second
Yeah.
tier,
And
yes,
then
I
my
agree.
third tier would be Jalen Hurts and Lamar.
Yeah.
And then I probably have Justin Herbert
I'll
and
be honest, I have Lamar in that second tier. That's
That's
I think so
fine.
too.
Yeah, that's fine.
But
I just like Jalen Hurts from the start of last season to this point, like it's very impressive. What
No,
Jalen
I
Hurts has
agree.
done. He's won games. He was second in MVP last year. To this point right now, he's the favorite to win MVP if the season ended today, the betting favorite.
Is he really?
leads the NFL in rushing touchdowns over that time, and he's been to a Super Bowl and outdueled the guy that we claim is the best in the
Yeah.
NFL. No
Yeah.
questions asked. He played better than him in the
That
big
was one of the
dance.
most
Like,
ridiculous quarterback performances
Right.
I've
Yeah.
seen.
like and obviously he had a mistake. He had a fumble that was very costly. But
only mistake
other
he
than
made.
other than
All
that, he
game.
played a near perfect game. A perfect game, not near perfect. He played a perfect game. Other than that, so like that shit matters to me when I'm talking about this shit.
yeah. So
Do I think we talk about it with basketball all the time. Basketball, it's kind of easier to point out what you're talking about between who am I taking talent wise and who am I taking when I'm ranking a guy. Like basketball, we have those conversations all the time. Like,
Yeah.
oh, talent wise, I think Anthony Edwards is this high, but because Anthony Edwards is young and has only been in the playoffs X amount of times, I have to have Anthony Edwards below Donovan Mitchell. Because I've seen Donovan Mitchell do it longer, but I personally do think Anthony Edwards is more talented. We could have those conversations easily.
Yeah.
But with football, it just becomes very tricky. It gets very tricky. The winning stuff becomes very tricky because, like we all know, you don't play both sides of the ball in football. A quarterback his job is to throw the ball and call the plays and make sure everyone's in the best spot to succeed. But he's not catching the ball. He's not blocking. He's not calling the plays. Like there's a lot of he's not obviously not on defense. Like there's a lot
saw
more.
it with Mahomes last night. There's only so much you can do.
There's so many more external factors in football, so I think it gets a little tricky. My whole point is just Why can't we just be in the middle as a football community? Justin Herbert's very good. He's a top 7 at worst quarterback. That's the lowest you could put him, is 7 probably. You could put him 7, and that's it.
And that's not disrespectful.
And who
at all.
knows what
Like,
Rodgers has left?
And as
'cause he'd be a bogus,
soon as Justin Herbert wins probably just one playoff game, I'll have different conversations.
Okay.
Just
No,
get
I
to
would-
the
I would
playoffs
agree,
and win
yeah.
a game.
Yeah, we ain't gonna.
the talent's there. It's just if I have to pick a guy to get me to a Super Bowl or win a Super Bowl, I'm gonna pick the guys that have gotten close or done it before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
No, I get it. I understand, and I get it. I get where you guys are coming from. I understand the Justin Herbert combo. I don't know. I'm just a massive. I'm someone that just I will defend that man as much as possible. I know there are flaws, and I've seen it.
it's gonna pay off one day because he is one of the most talented
Yes,
players.
and I
I'm
know
a
there will
fan.
be.
Yeah,
I'm a
exactly,
fan.
exactly,
Like,
yeah.
He's a great player.
There will be a day. There will absolutely be a day that like I could finally stake my flag in the fucking Justin Herbert fan club and be like, yes, I said it, I called it. Finally, the day is here.
Yep.
But until then, it's a lot of misery here. So yeah, that is that. We're not going to do this now.
5-minute conversation
But
went
I
on
feel
for
like
23 minutes.
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, exactly. I knew that was going to happen. There is another guy that I want to eventually have a conversation about, and that is Dak Prescott. We won't do that today, but I definitely want to have a Dak
I
conversation
will
as
always
well.
talk about that.
Oh yeah, they're gonna win by 50 on Thanksgiving, so we'll definitely be able to have a conversation about them.
So yeah, I definitely want to have a Dak
Save it for
conversation at
next
some point. But yeah. All right, that was our Justin Herbert little conversation.
Short
there.
conversation.
Or
yeah.
Sleazy goes, this is a very passionate topic. Yeah. Yeah.
I honestly didn't know how strongly I felt about it until it got brought up. I'm not gonna lie, because
Yeah.
you said it, and I was like, I'm gonna let you two rock because you guys are the more passionate as far as Justin Herbert goes.
I
But
just
yeah.
This isn't the only conversation that's like that. I just feel
No,
like
of
in
course.
terms of football discourse, from what I see, you guys know how I am. I'm always on Twitter. I'm always
Yeah,
on
yeah.
my fucking phone, so I'm seeing all this shit all day long. Like, I just feel like this is the one where the sides of the spectrum, the gap is so huge. Like, there's people who think who come out and say Justin Herbert sucks and he's not a top 10 quarterback, and there's people who say he's clearly the second best quarterback in the NFL. And I just think it's objectively a middle ground with him.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's an argument to say he's not top 10, and I really personally don't feel like there's an argument to say he's the second best quarterback in football. I think there's a few guys who you could make a clear argument are ahead of him. So
Yeah.
it's just like, why can't we just come to an agreement in the middle?
Yeah.
Justin
Yeah.
Herbert, same way we do, like, Herbert's obviously like a tier up from this, I'd say, but the same way we do with a guy like Kirk Cousins. I feel like the football community as a whole acknowledges the fact that Kirk Cousins isn't a bad quarterback. He's probably not a
I'm the
Not-
highest tier
right.
on Kirk
He's
Cousins.
not
Yeah.
a mid quarterback. He's a good quarterback who can win you some games, and that's it.
This season,
what
that motherfucker was exercising some demons
Yeah.
in terms of like the primetime games. Kirk
Yeah.
was changing the narrative.
That's
so.
just like sports social media in
I
a
mean,
nutshell.
it's the same thing with Tua. The Tua stuff is very similar to the Justin Herbert stuff. People
Yeah.
want to prop Tua up as this top 5 guy, and then there's also people who say Tua is a bottom half quarterback in the
Yeah.
NFL.
which is just
Right.
fucking
Why
ridiculous.
can't Tua just be a top 10 guy, top 11
Yeah.
guy?
Fringe
Same
top
thing
10.
with Brock
Yeah.
Purdy. It's the same thing with Brock Purdy. Like, it's just some of these guys, but it's just especially with Herbert. Like, especially with Herbert.
Yeah, it's just like I said, it's just sports media. Like people think they have to be extreme in order to show how strongly they
Yes.
feel about something.
Yes.
And I get it. Like,
Yeah.
that's just how it is. Like,
Exactly, yeah.
we're all doing this to try and get clicks and get people to talk about
Right.
our shit.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, we're all huge fans. Like, everyone in this area,
Yeah. So
niche
Yeah, I
has
mean, you're
been
not
watching-
subscribed. You're not following us if you're not a big fucking fan. And if you're talking about this stuff in general, you're obviously a fucking fan of the
Right.
sport.
Right.
So people
You're-
feel certain ways, and people have agendas. Like you. I mean, we've known each other for like 10 years
So
now.
long.
We've had agendas before. Like, this isn't just a
Before
podcast,
we were on a podcast.
thing. Like,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
we've
no.
had agendas. You had an Anthony Davis
But I was about to
agenda,
say,
like,
back when we
like,
first
I
spoke
had a
to each other, we
Tyrann
did our
Matthew-
push-ups and we
right.
fucking spoke about Anthony
Like,
Davis
I
being
had
the
a
best player
Tyrann
in the
Matthew
world.
Cardinals agenda. Like,
Yeah.
David Johnson was my favorite player, so I rooted
Yeah.
for the Cardinals and said they were better than everyone else. I was the fool who said the Cardinals were going to beat the fucking 15-1 Panthers.
Yep.
I was the fool. and they got embarrassed.
That was bad.
Yeah, we like
That was bad.
this is
Yeah, we have agenda, so I get that side of it. Like I know there's gonna
we
be
did this
Herbert.
before the cameras.
Yeah,
Like
I know there's
Yeah,
gonna be
far
Herbert
before
stands
that, man.
and shit like that, and I understand that side of it. Some of these dudes even make a living off that, off
Yeah.
of being a fan of one guy.
Yeah,
Like I understand it. It's just sometimes the discourse is cooked, and especially
Shout out a certain somebody.
yeah, and especially
ain't,
on
man.
like the Twitter and the TikTok comments get like crazy. Everyone's just trying to hate. Which
Everyone
also
does
bothers
try to
me.
hate.
Everyone just
the
wants to stand
comments are
out,
Fucking
yeah.
comedy, man.
Like I know,
fucking
like
love 'em.
us having this conversation isn't gonna fucking change sports discourse for the better, but sometimes I
One
just,
day we'll have
Maybe
that
it might.
impact. One day we shall have the impact.
I know
You
it's
gotta start
corny,
somewhere.
but like I like when we could just appreciate and analyze the game objectively.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like
Right.
you guys know me, I'm the biggest guy for having agendas. I have a million of them, and
Oh,
I'll
yeah,
ride,
yeah, yeah.
and I'll ride or die for my agendas. But I love talking about a game where I don't have an agenda and I don't feel a certain way about the two teams playing, and I could just objectively analyze that shit. You know what I mean?
Unless they're just boring. Then then I don't give a fuck. But
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah.
that.
yeah,
That was good. I need to
was
get that
fun.
off my chest.
Yeah,
I was
clearly.
actually-
You don't say.
my girl was asking like, "Oh, what are you doing on the podcast?" And like I was telling her, and I went into it with and she was asking me like, "Why do you feel this way about Justin Herbert?" So me and her were talking for like a half hour about it.
You were getting it all
I
out
was
there.
like, "Wow, like I really need to get this off my chest."
He told us before the podcast, nah, it's just gonna be like a 2-minute conversation. Don't worry.
I mean, nah, I said it. I responded, and I'm like, naturally, that means it's going to be a 20-minute
Yeah,
conversation.
it's exactly what they said.
But yeah, no, that was fun. I enjoyed that.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Got some fun shit coming
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, and the rest is going to be like TikTok segments. This one should be cool. This is going to be our NFL. I said mid-season report cards just because the word mid-season sounds better, but we'll go with NFL 2/3 of the season report cards. So
Doesn't have
Our
the same ring to
NFL
it.
almost there.
Almost there report
Our
card.
almost
That's
there
a good
report
one.
card.
yeah, we have a list of teams. I kind of came up with it, but I got the okay from the guys. We wanted to make sure it was one interesting teams and two teams that we don't always get the chance to talk about. Some of them are. We've been doing the podcast all year. We did the podcast last year. So we've talked about all of these teams at one point
Right.
or another, but just some of the teams that we don't always show the most love to. So I'll do a little TikTok hook. Grade these NFL teams based on their performance through 2/3 of the NFL season. Nice.
Good.
All right. So the first one I want to start with, which I think is a very interesting team, out in the NFC South, the 4-6 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And obviously, we're going to grade this like it's school, A through F grading. You guys get the gist.
And each of these teams are likely going to be graded entirely differently. Based on your expectations prior to the season, based on what your goal was coming into the season.
So
The Bucs are a weird case, man.
I want to
'Cause I
look
didn't know
at.
what the fuck they were aiming to do to start the season. I do know where their expectation was. I think I had a bet with Dean for the Bucs over under on the win total. I think it was 6.5. If they had more than that, Dean wins. If they have less than that, I win. So we'll see how that ends up going. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough. Like Baker has been better I
Better than
feel like we
expected. Yeah.
Has he been amazing? No, but he's been a lot
think he's
better
been-
than I expected.
He's been more than He's been more than what you thought he was going to be. I feel like he's been what you kind of hoped he was going to be. I mean, how much did you really expect from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this season? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And like, they can still make the playoffs. And if this team makes it, first of all, if Baker Mayfield makes the playoffs, I will be the biggest Baker. I have a Baker jersey. I'll be the biggest Baker fan in the playoffs. I would want nothing more than to see him win. But
sitting a game out. That's it.
I'll give a grade. I'm gonna go right down the middle of the pack. I'm gonna give him a B. With like,
It's a little
what
more
were-
than a middle of the pack grade.
Yeah,
what,
so
what were they supposed to do? Like,
No.
You know?
I feel
no,
you.
I know, but like,
I agree with you, and for that reason, I'm going to give them a C+.
I was about to say I'm
Okay.
giving them a
So
C.
I guess a B's a little high, but yeah,
So-
okay.
We expected the Buccaneers to be kind of exactly what they are in terms of where they rank amongst certain sets. Their defense is good in terms of forcing turnovers. They're really good against the run. The secondary's lacking a little bit.
Horrible to see.
Offensively, they have two really good receivers. They have a guy in Rashad White who's a good safety blanket out of the backfield. They could move the ball through the air a little bit. Like
Can't
they
run
have
the ball.
some weapons to move the ball through the air, but they can't run the ball. The thing that takes it for me from a C to a C plus has been the play of Baker Mayfield. I think that's been pleasantly surprising. He hasn't been great, but he hasn't been bad by any stretch of the word. So I think they've passed. You know what I mean? C plus. They've passed. And they have a chance to make the playoffs. If they make the playoffs, it goes to that B minus.
Yeah,
B
I'll change it to a
territory.
B minus because
Yeah.
B's a little high, but
I
yeah,
get it though
yeah.
because they have a chance to make the playoffs, which is
That's-
exceeding a lot of people's expectations for them.
But again, it is and it isn't because like we knew this division was going to be
I
dog
was about
shit.
to say
Like,
that, so I can't.
we
Just,
knew they could have
I can't
snuck
just
into the playoffs.
increase
You
their
know,
fucking grade just because
Well,
the NFC South sucks. Like
me in particular, I did obviously think the NFC South wasn't going to be good. I think we all thought that, but me in particular, I didn't think the Bucs had a chance to win the division.
I thought the Falcons.
I
you
thought the
and
Fal-
were
yeah,
very
I thought,
high on the
I
Falcons.
thought it was a two-team race between the
Yeah.
Falcons and the Saints.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought the other two teams didn't stand a chance, and they're in a position to make a run at the division.
there are people who
One of
got
them
it.
definitely don't.
You have to applaud them for that, and you have to applaud Baker Mayfield for that because him not messing up is a big reason why.
Yeah. No,
Him not playing bad is a big reason why.
it's
So,
you like.
you have to applaud that.
People thought the Bucs were going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. Like I remember seeing people's
I'm
power
that-
rankings
I'm me.
that
I'm
had
one
them
of
at like
them as well,
30,
yeah.
31.
Yeah.
Like
I had them at 5 and 12. I think going into the
yeah,
season
I mean,
or something like that.
they've
so.
just they're getting older. They had every reason to be a shit team, and they're not a great team, but they're not.
And a lot of
shit
us
team
thought they
either.
would be sellers at the deadline.
Yeah.
We
Right.
thought someone would be shipped off at some point. So
namely Mike Evans, 'cause
Yeah.
he's probably not going to be there next season. All right, so I'm gonna give them a C because while everything you just stated, I feel like they're directionless right now, and that's a problem for me.
that's fair.
That's
I feel
an
like
off-season
they're-
thing, no? Like
No, but it's not because I feel like as of right now, what you needed to figure out by the trade deadline was, do we ship off some of these guys, get extra picks? Because next season, I'm sorry, this is still not a roster that's going to be competing.
No.
So let
They're
me
not
ask you
going to be
something.
clear. Yeah, what's up?
If they had traded Mike Evans for a 3rd and a 7th round
There's a
pick,
bug over it. That's a big ass
Where?
motherfucking spider. Holy shit.
I don't see it.
Holy.
he's just creeping along, man.
Oh my
It's
god.
not that big, guys.
Step on it. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh my god, it just bit Matty J.
Oh my gosh.
Matty J is web
This
shooting
is
out of him. right
insane.
now.
Holy shit. The power of editing's great when I post this as a clip out. Oh.
Look at that motherfucker.
Wow.
Oh. She.
Damn, bro. I didn't know Staten Island had tarantulas. That's crazy.
In your head, by the way.
Yeah, I have it still. Yo, while you're in there, can you grab me a water?
I was just gonna say the same thing. Yeah,
So how's your day, Tom?
my day's cool. What did I do today?
I got Jose Tejas today.
Yeah,
Haven't been there in a long.
I've
that
been
was
to
the
Jose
first
Tejas
time-
in mad long.
Let me tell you, Tom, that was the first time I've gone out for Mexican food that wasn't Hobra
Oh, yeah,
since I
yeah.
started working at Hobra, and
Did you feel like you were cheating?
I enjoyed it so much. Actually, it was so much like Hobra. You know, Hobra is great food.
Oh, yeah,
They
I
have
love
good food
Hobra.
in their own right, but it was
Yeah.
so much different than Hobra. It really made me happy. I really
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
Jose Tejas is the shit.
Jose Tejas. I haven't been there
Jose-
in a long
Jose
time.
Tejas
I
is the
really
shit.
enjoyed.
Yeah,
Nothing crazy. I just got this like, it was called like it was a blackened chicken like entree. It was just
Yeah.
like, but like, it was really like charred like, and it was packed with flavor and just rice and beans and then some special sauce. It was pretty good.
Jose Tejas, hit us up, man.
Yeah.
We'll take care of you. We'll take care
Give
of
us
you.
a Jose Tejas.
We'll take care of you, brother. Oh, Sleazy goes, what in the Discovery Channel? Yeah, showing the camera was kind of crazy. I don't know, you know. Yeah, W Mexican food is right, bro. Yeah, it's you live in the fucking Amazon.
Yeah, pretty much.
Thanks.
Sorry to everyone watching.
Sorry.
Oh, that was a wreck.
Thank God it's
fuck,
only
that takes
Sleazy
so
watching live.
Oh, okay, cool.
Bless.
nice.
No free promo.
Did he
Taking this
comment?
shit off. He said, "What in the Discovery Channel?"
Why didn't you guys ask how my day was? All right, before we get back into everything, Sleazy, how was your day?
Let us know, man.
Let us know, and then we'll go from there.
Is he
but-
doing the thing tomorrow?
Yeah, he's coming on tomorrow.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah, if you
even
guys-
more of a reason
Love to
tune
hear
in.
it, man.
Yeah, if you guys are watching this right now and you're going to be tuning in tomorrow when we do our NBA show, we're going to have O'Sleazy on there. Can I tell you guys the topic for the NBA show tomorrow? No.
No
I
shot.
can't. Don't know that yet. But we're going to be doing a Thanksgiving Day foods draft. So
Yes,
that's
we
gonna
are.
Be lit.
That's gonna be a lot of fun.
It's
Yes,
going to be a
we are.
movie.
We're definitely gonna have some like Thanksgiving talk and stuff like that. So
All
that'll
right, so
be
my question to you
back
is,
to it.
if the Buccaneers had traded Mike Evans for, let's just say hypothetically, a 3rd and a 7th round pick or a 2nd round pick, whatever it is, a few picks, L pick, whatever it is, does your grade go up or down?
Up.
From a C? Up? Okay, so that makes
Because in
That's
my
fair.
eyes,
Yeah.
Mike Evans is as good as gone.
Right.
And what good does that do for you as a franchise right now? So getting something for him rather than getting nothing for him in the offseason is a massive W in my eyes. So them not trading him definitely hurt their grade. I give them a C because, as I said, directionless as of right now. But, yeah, I mean, all in all, I think, yes, they could figure it out in the offseason. But, things needed to be figured out by trade deadline, and we didn't really make much progress on that. They're 4-6, kind of where we expected, maybe exceeding my expectations in that regard a little bit, but yeah. So that's where I'm at with the Buccaneers. So
All right, so the next team we'll stay in the NFC. We'll go with the 6-4 Seattle Seahawks.
you were very high on the Seahawks. I was
Was.
pretty
Yeah.
high on the Seahawks.
I wasn't here.
Yeah. But how did you feel about the Seahawks, Tom?
I felt like the Seahawks. I know Chris was saying like they would be one of the best offenses in the NFL, and they've been good. Geno Smith has not been as good as last year. I felt like the Seahawks were going to struggle to repeat what they did last year, but they are sitting here 6-4. They look like a decent
This is a
team.
big opportunity this week.
Who they play?
The 49ers.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Huge game.
that'd actually be really huge if they win. I mean, again, it's what do you want the Seahawks to do? I mean, win a playoff game? Like that would be
Yeah, that would
a
probably
step
be-
up from last season.
Yes.
Letter grade. I don't even know. You guys go. I want to hear some of your feedback before I make my decision.
Probably give the Seahawks the same grade I gave the Buccaneers. I think
Yeah.
I'd give them a C+. Obviously, they haven't been the team that I expected them to be, but in terms of overall expectations for them, I think they've been pretty mid. You know, another team that same thing as the Buccaneers. I have to credit them for being in position to potentially make the playoffs. You know, that has to, not every team is in position to make the playoffs at this point. So
But they should have been in position. To
I
make the
agree
playoffs,
with that,
you know?
but not every team has a chance to make the playoffs
Yeah,
at this point.
yeah.
A lot of there's a bunch of teams who are already their season is done,
Yeah.
so you have to give them some credit for that. I think this defense has been better than anticipated in terms of generating pressure, which was their biggest concern
Yes.
defensively.
I definitely came into the season with those questions.
Right, and they've been one of the better teams in terms of generating pressure. Not the best, not at the top, but they've been a lot better than expectation. I think the offense hasn't hit its stride. I think a lot of that's on Geno hasn't been as good. I think, DK has been in and out of the lineup. JSN took a little bit to get going. The offensive line has been in and out all year so
Oh,
far, so
man,
they haven't
yeah,
had
mostly
much,
out.
yeah, they haven't really had much continuity. But yeah, I mean they haven't met my expectations for them thus far, but they've been just about average and probably right around where people think they should be. I feel like 6-4 makes a lot of sense for the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm at a B minus. I'm at a B minus so far. 6-4 makes a lot of sense, as you said. I predicted that they would go 10-7 this season, so they're right about on pace for that to this point. So they're not exceeding expectations ridiculously, but they're also not, underwhelming. I don't think they've even come close to hitting their stride. There's obviously another level that this team can reach. They nailed it with the Devon Witherspoon pick, which,
Yeah,
that
they
helps.
definitely did.
That helps. That helps a grade, in my opinion, with how well he's played. All in all, yeah, I mean, I have them at a B-. There's not a crazy amount of stuff to talk about with the Seahawks. Geno just hasn't been as great as he was last year. DK hasn't really been healthy. JSN has only recently got it going, which also looks great for them now. But yeah, all in all, they're not healthy. Hopefully they get healthy. Ken Walker just went down. I know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I expect big things for the Seahawks for the remainder of the season, but so far to this point, B-.
I'm gonna change mine. I'm gonna go to B- too.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna go with B- just because I like what you said about the draft picks. They also traded for Leonard Williams, which I thought they traded a
They
lot.
paid a lot more than they should have for him,
but they made a move to get better and make the playoffs and be able to do something once they get there. But I feel like people were hyping this team up to be something more, and they just haven't gotten there yet. Still a lot of ball to be played, but yeah, I'll go. I'm comfortable with a B-.
given all the injuries and stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
B-.
Exactly. They've had a lot of
For
injuries
them
too.
to be 6-4 right now. This week literally could be the difference between them being like a fucking A and a D. So
All right, so the next team, the 4-6 Green Bay Packers, just beat the Chargers.
miracle that they're 4-6, to be honest. Okay. I'm grading it off one guy because I feel like that was the big wild card coming into the season. And to this point, yes, he just had the best game of his career. To this point, Jordan Love gets a failing grade. They came into this year hoping that Jordan Love was the guy. He has turned out to, in fact, not be the guy so far to this point. And for that reason, I give it, for them to still have 4 wins, I'll give it a C- or a D. Ooh, I don't know. I'm gonna give it a D+.
D+ is rough.
I'm with a D+. They can't stop the run this season.
No.
Their defense has not been nearly as good as I expected it to be. Jordan Love has not been good. Their young receivers look real solid. I'll say that much. But yeah, I mean, Jordan Love has not been what you expected him to be, and that was pretty much what your entire season was going to be based upon. So I have to grade it based on what I've seen from Jordan Love, given that that was the wild card for this Packers and what they went into the season and what they were so heavily relying on. So I'm giving it a D+ based on Jordan Love being the way he is.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a D. You hit on some really good points there. Like you said, Jordan Love hasn't been great. He's also shown some flashes, though. We do have to give him credit.
But it's year 4, Chris.
It is year 4, but it's his first real taste. You know, he's gotten looks, but he hasn't gotten tastes.
I guess.
He's getting the full load now, and he's tasting
Here we
it.
go.
We don't got a rookie contract to ponder this anymore, though. That's the thing.
where things get tricky, but I'm not grading the front office, But, Jordan Love's been pretty mediocre. The defense is the part, that's why it's a D and not, let's say, a C or anything like that, because the defense hasn't been what a lot of people expected it to be. The pass defense is good, but they're not forcing takeaways, and their run defense is Swiss cheese.
Yep.
Which isn't really a good formula there.
It's not the best cheese.
No. And they're so young offensively.
Mm-hmm.
They're, Christian Watson, he's dealing with injuries, but also hasn't been good. Romeo Dubes has been kind of up and down.
Yeah. Yeah. Dontavion Wicks and Jaden Reed look like players, though.
Yeah.
Luke Musgrave looks like a player if Jordan Love would only be able to hit him deep. Upon watching Packers games over, you look at it, and Luke Musgrave should have another fucking 150 to 200 receiving yards with 3 or 4 more touchdowns so far this season. So as a fantasy owner, my heart's broken with that, but that's neither here nor there. Overall, it looks like they have a lot of really young receiving talent, which is a big positive. Christian Watson never stays healthy. That's another thing. I think he's a wash. He's done. That's just not going to work out at any point. But yeah, so Tom, I'm curious to where you go with this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with D+ because, like you said, Jordan Love, you guys pretty much had everything, but Jordan Love has just been not good at all. I said it. I think I said this on the podcast once, but I've never seen someone who loves to throw it deep as much and be terrible at it than Jordan Love. I know we said this is his first real taste, but like you said, 4 years, 4 years in the NFL is
You gotta be able to handle
yeah.
that big old load.
you got to be
Yeah.
able to take that big old
You
load,
do
man. I
indeed.
mean, you've been preparing your whole life for it. And he's just been really, really underwhelming. And the Packers as a whole have been really underwhelming. I mean, their run defense has been awful, as we said. And they also don't, I guess they're a young team rebuilding, but, you know, they got some stuff to figure out for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give their defense some sort of credit because they have been great against the pass this year, but
Well,
but that's also
when
because
you're horrible,
they're so
I was going to
bad
say, when you're
against the
horrible
run.
against the run, your pass stats are going to look a
a
little
little
inflated.
better, yeah. So
All right.
Vice versa.
that's where I'm at.
The last NFC team, the 3-8 New York Football Giants.
Yeah.
first for me.
So, Tom, I want because I'll probably go for a little while, so
I'll
leave
go
it for
first
you.
then. I'm gonna give the Giants a D-. Terrible season, no bright
I
spots.
was between F and D-, but because there's been some injuries, I'll go D-. I mean, it's been awful, man. Daniel Jones, I mean, I've spent before I had a platform, I spent so much time defending this motherfucker. And
Oh, I did it with a platform.
oh yeah, he
So
did it
there's
with
receipts.
and without a platform.
So there's your receipts.
But he is, and I still say, listen, if he's in a great situation, he looks good, you know?
He looks really good.
Yeah. He's not. He doesn't have that luxury. And so he's being judged for the situation he is in. You need to put pieces around him. Guess what? You can't put any fucking pieces around him because you paid him all this goddamn money. And now you're locked into him for what, 2 years until you can get him off your books.
Yeah,
And
pretty much next season, guaranteed.
It's just
and
then you got you draft Caleb Williams, you draft Drake May. Now you're paying this guy $40 million, whatever it is, to sit
next
on the
year.
bench, and it's real bad. The receiving options are just not good.
Paris
The defense has gotten better over the course of the season, but I mean, there's only so much they're gonna do, and they still
When
haven't
you're
been great.
on the field as much as you are,
Right?
bro,
Yeah. My only thing about the Giants is there are people out there that are calling to like fire Brian Dable, and I think that's ridiculous.
oh
it's
my
absolutely
God,
absurd.
dude.
It's just, and they won a playoff game last year. Like me and you, I'm sure we're out here arguing for our lives about the Giants that they were not one-hit wonders, and they were.
Oh, there's proof of.
Oh yeah,
me doing
there's
that,
yeah,
Tom.
yeah, there's quite a few out there. The only bright spot on the Giants has been Dexter Lawrence. He has been as good as advertised. He's probably the best tackle in the NFL, but he's one of the best defensive linemen in
No,
the NFL.
he
He's definitely
really-
the best tackle in the NFL. Yeah, but
Him and Chris Jones, in my personal opinion.
yeah, it's just the Giants have had a terrible season, and it's going to be a hard rebuild because, like we said, the Daniel Jones contract, nobody's going to want him. We don't even want him. And now he tore his ACL. So as if it wasn't bad enough that this guy does not look good at all. He looks horrible. He's now looking horrible coming off of a torn ACL. They got Tommy Cutlets starting a quarterback right now.
Shout
Saw
out
that
to
on
the
Instagram.
man, bro.
Tommy Cutlets. The Giants, man, we just I don't even know what to say. Extremely disappointed, man.
If you would have told me that Tommy DeVito was starting at this point in the season, I
would have been like, did I go to high school with that kid? Who is he?
I would have been like, he might have went to Farrell, honestly. while I was
Exactly. Yeah.
there.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen him at DJ's a couple times, but
You probably
I really do think
probably
I
have.
genuinely think that's true. I think I've seen Tommy DeVito at DJ's, but anyway, yeah, the Giants, it's a wash, and it's just this Daniel Jones situation makes it so much worse.
All right, here we go.
Go ahead,
All
buddy.
right.
Let it rip.
Now moving on to the AFC.
I'll just go fuck myself.
Oh, you didn't give your grade yet? You did. I thought you won already. Oh, my bad. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's
Go
fine.
ahead,
I'm
Rob.
not going
My
to take
bad.
a while. Tom hit a lot of the points. Tommy DeVito is currently our starting quarterback. That speaks volumes.
It's really all you have
I'm
to say.
giving them an F minus because if I could go lower, I absolutely would. The only way you could salvage your grade this season is if you actually fucking tank correctly, which you can't even do that right. All I want is Drake May or Caleb Williams. Probably going to slightly prefer Drake May, but that's a conversation for the offseason. Anyways, all in all, what a miserable season this is. When I came into the season with legitimate expectations,
Bro, we
I
won a
predicted
playoff
that
game.
we would be 10-7 because we won a playoff game last year and our roster got better. Our roster did
Objectively
get better.
got better, yeah.
And that's the problem. I had hope, and I said it. I said, this is going to be my downfall. I have hope for the New York Giants, and look at what that brought me. F-. What a miserable season. It's not Daboll, and it's not Shane's fault. Shane is only in year one of this whole thing. I don't think Banks looks bad. I actually like what Deontay Banks has done so far this season. Evan Neal looks like a glorified miss, though. I will say that. Kayvon's had a massive season. He's been a bright spot.
Kayvon's been terrific.
been
First like
balling.
2 games, it was rough, and then he's balled out.
Yeah, I
seemed
definitely
like-
need to apologize because I was definitely hard on him after the first 2 games this year.
Oh, I was too.
But I loved Kayvon the prospect.
Yeah.
But yeah, all in all, I mean, Joe Shane's draft picks seems like they've been pretty decent for the most part. Micah McFadden has been a revelation for us at linebacker. Bobby Okereke has been phenomenal since the first few games of the season.
Okereke was a terrific pickup. Waller, I mean, how much was he could he do?
A
in
third
this-
round pick, I'll
this
throw
fall?
it.
Exactly.
I'll say it's
yeah.
a wash.
Exactly.
I'll
yeah,
say
that's
it's a
fair.
wash.
And then but like the draft, okay, we get a
Cordell
quarterback.
Flott has looked good in the
Yeah.
slot.
Yeah, for sure. The draft, okay, what do? We get Caleb. Great. We're gonna draft more offensive linemen.
We have to.
I know we have
sign
to,
an offensive
but
lineman,
like
you
it
have to
just
draft an
sucks,
offensive
bro.
lineman. I mean,
sign these guys and they just forget how to block.
Bro, they have to fire their offensive line coach. If that doesn't happen, then you've failed miserably. But all in all, yeah, it's an F- for the Giants. What a miserable season. Turn it around, get an A by tanking correctly and going to get Drake May.
Yep.
Bars. There we go. All right. Next
May
up.
gets you an A.
All right, so we'll move over to the AFC and we'll start with grading. Arguably the hottest team in football right now, the 5-5 Denver Broncos.
Jesus Christ, this is ridiculous.
4-game win streak for them. This is tough.
This is
team to
hard,
grade.
bro. Because it could be a complete opposite side of the spectrum by the end of the season.
Indeed, it can.
They started off. It's just so hard because
Horrifically.
all right, let's look at last season, right? They came in, people were saying Super Bowl for this team last season. They were saying they were the best team in the AFC West. And they were the furthest thing from that. Like,
Indeed, they were.
but all that being said, they were supposed to be worse this year.
Yeah.
And they weren't. They got and then they came in and it looked like, yeah, the Broncos are fucked. And then they got 70 dropped on them. And everyone was like, well, this might be. We were talking about that they were the worst defense in
We were talking
NFL
about Sean
history.
Payton attempting to go for Caleb Williams.
Yeah. And then I don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened. Like I would love to be a fly on the wall in their facilities because I don't know what happened. I think so. I'll wrap it up here. I think turning the season around, literally in the middle of the season, is a really hard thing to do, and because they're doing that, I'm gonna go with a B+. They have completely defied expectations. They could be a playoff team. I mean, no one saw that coming.
No.
And Russell Wilson has looked not great, but really pretty good. I mean, he's gotten better as the season goes on. Cortland Sutton has been a beast.
Oh my fuck.
He's been a monster.
He doesn't even put up ridiculous receiving numbers. It's
No, but he's just when they need a
only
play,
scores touchdowns.
Yeah, that's all he does. He scores touchdowns. But when they need a big play, they go to Sutton, and that's where it is. And their defense has gotten a lot better. Like they are not the same team that got 70 points dropped on them. That's for sure.
No, they are not.
So yeah, I think the Broncos, like I said, I'm really impressed by them these last few weeks for sure.
So just to drop a couple stats out there, the Denver Broncos over the last 4 weeks of the season, from week 8 on, they are 5th in defensive EPA in the entire league. 5th. And that was after the much maligned Broncos defense that we saw in the previous season. If you go back, I mean, in the previous 5-6 games of the season, if you go back to week 7, they're 9th in defensive EPA. The biggest problem with them was they were Swiss cheese rush defense. And since week 8, they are currently the 17th ranked EPA on rush EPA overall in the league, which not amazing.
You will take that.
But over as opposed to being 30
Yeah,
second,
you will take that.
I'm going to take that.
Yeah.
And obviously, Pat Surtain has played like the best corner in the NFL without question. No doubt about it, in my personal opinion. You're going to say Jalen Ramsey?
Number 5.
Jalen Ramsey has looked phenomenal
That man
since coming
number
back.
5.
That man number 5.
No doubt about it. He's looked phenomenal since coming back. But all in all, this Broncos defense is playing absolutely ridiculous over the last few weeks. The offense is doing just enough recently, which crazy to say because, you know, Sean Payton, the offensive genius that he is, all they've done is just enough to be winning these games. They've had some luck. A lot of turnover luck has gone their way. But I guess they deserved some luck after a real shit start to the season.
Man.
So, all in all, I don't want to grade this on a curve based on the fact that they were so bad to start the season. I'll give them a C because I predicted 9-8, and they're right about there.
I'm going to give them a B. I completely agree with you, Tom. So you look at it, the first thing is they gave up 70 points in a game this year, and they were able to turn it around. But then you look at Russell Wilson, who had the worst year of his career last year, and has been able to turn it around. And the biggest part of that is protecting the football, because that's what this team's identity was supposed to be. Even dating back to last year, they were supposed to have a really good defense with a really good run game, an emerging star in Javonte Williams, and Russell Wilson should be able to operate out of the play action and take some shots. It didn't work that way last year. It didn't work that way through the first 7 weeks of the season. But Russ has been progressively, every week this year, it seems like Russ has gotten better.
Check down Merchant, though.
And he's not turning the ball over. And that's
That
the
is
most
more
important
than,
part.
yes.
Yeah.
And, you know, you mentioned all those stats about the Broncos defense post week 7. I just want to go back and mention where they were before week 7. So from weeks 1 to 7, they were the worst in the NFL in terms of EPA per play. They were the third worst in terms of success rate. They were the worst against the pass in terms of EPA.
Which they were sixth in the last 4 weeks.
They were the 5th worst in terms of EPA against the run. So they were the worst defense in the NFL, and they gave up 70 points in a singular football game, and they were able to right the ship. And since then, since week 7, to be what, top 6 defense in the NFL, top 7 defense in the NFL, top 10 unit at worst.
At worst, you could say
Right.
top 10 and it's safe.
If you would have said after that 70-point game, this team's going to be 5-5,
I would have laughed.
no one would believe you.
No.
Yeah,
Not a
no one would
shot.
believe you.
No.
You wouldn't believe yourself.
Not a
So you
shot.
got to give them credit for
It's
that.
like I said, I
Gotta
just
give
think that's so hard to do in the middle of a season. I mean, we talk about the NFL. The NFL is all about getting hot at the right times, and that's what they did. You have to do that to
You know
get
what?
to the playoffs.
I'll bump it up. Yeah, I'll bump it up to a C+. Given that they've rallied the troops somehow so far this season. So
All right. Next team, very interesting team, the 7-3 Jacksonville Jaguars.
this is going to be the best grade I hand out so far for sure. Where do I begin on the Jacksonville Jaguars?
I'm going to give the Jaguars a flat B. I think the Jaguars have been good. I
Yeah.
don't think they've exceeded my expectations. I think the defense has been better than I anticipated, but I think this offense still has another level it could reach, and they haven't really hit their stride. And I thought this offense was going to be amongst one of the best in the NFL, and I just don't think they've been that.
Yeah,
So I'll give them a B.
I like a B because, like you said, I think the jump on defense cancels out the offensive leap we're waiting for them to take. I thought the Jags were going to be really good coming into this season. So to say a B doesn't mean that they haven't had a good season. It's just, they've been about where I expected them to. They're 7-3, you said?
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
There's conversations about them not being able to beat good teams and things like that. So, again, they're going to get into the playoffs, and we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, I like the Jags. I think the Jags are doing great, and I think they are going to unlock that next level of their offense. Calvin Ridley had a great week, which you really wanted to see because
Yes.
you really need him to get involved. And Christian Kirk has been just as good as last year, if not better. Evan Ingram's been really good, but I do think there's another level to this offense.
So I'll start off by saying that Trevor Lawrence just had his best game of the season against a terrible Titans secondary, but nonetheless had his best game of the season. I think we're about to see that next level of the Jaguars offense coming up very soon. But to this point, we haven't seen that. Their run game hasn't been efficient, even though ETN has been dominant fantasy force. The run game has not been efficient. Defense has been better than I expected it to be to this point in the season. A lot of turnover luck, but all in all, 7-3. They have a couple pretty solid wins, but they also have a really bad loss in a big test game with San Francisco. That loss alone drops my grade significantly. As much as I would have wanted them to put them in the A's, I'm going to give them a flat B. I'm going to give them a B. Their one big test in San Francisco, they did not pass, and that is why I give them a B.
All right. And the last team we'll cap this at 7. Fuck the 8th team. They're a mystery team. You guys are never going to know who the 8th team was. But the last team we have to talk about it. The 4-6 New York Jets.
Okay.
Interesting team because they lost their quarterback 4 seconds into their season. And they're 4-6.
Jesus.
So it's very interesting to give them a B.
Oh, man. It's like the Jets' expectations kind of get washed out because Aaron Rodgers went down. But, yeah, you start. I'm curious.
I'll start it off. They have the best defense in the NFL, in my personal opinion.
Sure.
You could argue it.
Yeah.
All in all, you could argue it.
But a lot of great defenses in the NFL.
But that Jets defense, given how much they have to be on the field, given what they've been required to do this season, in my personal opinion, that is the best defense in the NFL. With that being said, they are still a 4-6 football team due to the horrific nature of Zach Wilson-led offense.
And it is not getting any better.
Now it's Tim Boyle, and I promise you it ain't getting any fucking better with that guy under center. So I say this. They are a D+. It's unfortunate the Rodgers went down, but expectations were expectations. That happened. And Zach Wilson's been that bad. You are wasting, and this is why I give them a D+. You're wasting what I said was the best defense in the entire NFL. Still 4-6 because you can't even put together a mediocre offense at best. Yeah. It's the worst in the NFL.
So I'll go with... I'm not gonna go that low. I'm gonna go with a C. I'll go C- because them not taking care of the quarterback issue as soon as it happened.
Yes.
Them not being proactive about that really hurts that grade. Because like if they did that and they're 6-4 with I don't know Josh Dobbs, Carson Wentz, Jacoby Brissett, any one of them would have been better. They could legitimately be like we said 6-4. And that really, really hurt them sticking with Zach Wilson when he hasn't done anything to earn that other than be the number 2 overall pick. And you gotta let go of that, man. And the offense is just weapons haven't been great. I mean, like you said before, does Zach Wilson have the highest drop percentage?
Yeah, he does.
I mean, yeah, and when you combine that with bad throws and bad receivers,
outside
of Garrett Wilson, who is a
being wasted
beast. But yeah, the Jets they really fucked up not getting another quarterback on this roster, and then they finally did, and it was Trevor Siemian. And now you finally bench Zach Wilson, and you don't even play him. So what'd you get him for? What'd you go get him for? What did you go get him for? It's real bad in New York, and it really, like you said, because this defense best in the NFL. If they aren't, they're If they aren't, they're close to it.
Top 3 at worst.
You don't get a season where everything looks so good too often. So the fact that you had Aaron Rodgers, and then now obviously you don't, and you didn't, now you have no one at quarterback, you're relying on them to be just as good, if not better, next season. And that just, the continuity just isn't usually there like that in the NFL, except for the best of the best teams. So really, really curious to see how it plays out next season. But yeah, the Jets should have gotten a legitimate backup quarterback.
I completely agree. I give the Jets a D+. I feel very strongly about this. Like you said, that last point, I'm going to put emphasis on it. You have a window in the NFL, and it's very small when you have a window to win. And this defense is a Super Bowl level defense. They have some weapons on that offense. Not the offense as a whole, but some of the weapons are Super Bowl level weapons. And you lost your quarterback 4 seconds into the season. It looked like the season was over. And then you beat the Bills on opening night. and it looked like there was life. And it looked like to me, damn, if they get someone to play serviceable level quarterback play
They were
out of
4-3
someone
team.
who isn't Zach Wilson, who looked terrible in that game against the Bills, then this team could still make the playoffs and they could still flip the script. And they didn't make any type of move. And I said this when Zach Wilson had those, decent games. Zach Wilson had
All they were decent.
Zach Wilson had decent games.
If that.
And we propped him up. Not we, but football fans. And clearly
We
the
did
Jets
not.
front office. Clearly the Jets front office propped him up and said he's the guy.
They drank that Kool-Aid.
Right, he's the guy. We don't need to make a move at quarterback. Zach Wilson's a starter. And now look at it, and now you're stuck for this season. And this season is a wasted season,
Yep.
and that's where you lose me because you can't waste seasons in the NFL. Things are so quickly changing. Guys are so quickly, regressing, getting
Rookie
old.
scale contracts.
Right, contracts
Yeah,
are changing.
those will kill you.
Like you mentioned, Tom, the continuity is just not always there with NFL teams and specific units. So it's just such a tough ass to ask this defense to come back next year and be, like you said, just as good, if not better. So, yeah.
The other thing we haven't mentioned is Rodgers is doing everything in his power to
get
come back. And what are you putting around him? You have a 4-16. Again, if you're 6-4 and he comes back week 16,
No way he
they're
comes
what?
back if they're not in the hunt.
hypothetically. Well, of course. No, of course. But he's apparently starting practice in December. Unreal, by the
He's
way.
aiming for the 27th, I think it was, or
Unfucking
some
rip.
shit like
Christmas
that.
Eve.
All right.
Oh,
And
Christmas
it's
Eve.
just like, why?
So if he
Why-
comes back and they're 8-8,
Well, for one
it's
game?
a different 3 games.
It's a
16,
different
17, 18.
team.
It's
It's
a
a different
totally different
outlook,
team.
yeah.
They win those 3. They're 11, whatever it is, whatever the fucking math is. I don't even know.
Yeah, man. They're better
yeah.
with him than without
Would the
him.
24th be their final game of the season? Or the
No, they have
second
3
away?
games.
3
It's-
games
it's,
after
It's
2
16,
after that?
17, 18. Yeah, it's Washington, Cleveland, New England.
So
So you go 2-1 in those
then
games.
I'll pose
Let's say
this
you
question
lose
to you
two.
guys. What's the record have to be with 3
So
games
let's
remaining?
go
So
through their schedule.
14 games. What's the record have to be for Rodgers to come back?
Let's go through their schedule. They play Miami Friday. They lose.
They're
4-7.
Yeah.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. They beat Atlanta 5-7.
I don't even think that happens, but sure.
Then they play Houston.
You need to win that.
So let's say they win it 6-7. Miami 6-8.
That's oh yeah, boy. Oh God.
So 6-8,
So
and
9
then
and 8
Rodgers
at that point is your best case scenario.
9-8 is your best case scenario.
In a
I think if
bloodbath
Rodgers,
AFC.
I think if Rodgers is feeling it, he comes back. At 6-8, at 7-7, does he come back?
7-7, I think absolutely.
Yeah.
6 and
I'm
8, I
not
think you
doing
get
math right
dicey.
now, bro. I can't do math right now. But
7-7,
6-8,
We're
does he come
talking.
back? Because then best case scenario, they finish 9-8.
7-7 is the limit, I think.
And it's just, again, if you like you said, if you got a Josh Dobbs, if you got even like Andy Dalton,
Bro.
2 games makes the difference.
Would be. We saw how Andy Dalton played in Carolina, bro. He was still a very competent NFL quarterback. Like,
He had a great game, the game he played for Bryce.
but there was no reason for them to trade Dalton,
Right.
especially since he was like the mentor
Right.
there,
Yeah,
whatever. In certain scenarios, there were perfect situations for them to trade guys, like Josh Dobbs being traded. If you sent a 5th to the Cardinals, they got less. They got less from the Vikings. So if you send a 5th to the Cardinals, you have Josh Dobbs. We could be talking about a 5-5 team at this current moment. Maybe 6-4. I would say 5-5. And that makes perfect sense. There you go. You're a 5-5 football team to this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That was the NFL 2/3 season report cards. Let's pick them these Thanksgiving games
Yes.
Sure.
Let's do this.
and do our Thrive picks and then some TikToks and then we're out of here.
Cool.
All right. NFL Thanksgiving. It's going to be a banger. Starts off Packers at the Lions. Let's get it. Who we got? I'm rocking with the Lions.
I'm
The
also
Detroit
rocking
Lions.
with the Detroit Lions. What is their record on Thanksgiving? I'm gonna look it up.
Probably not good.
Probably not.
Probably
Play every
not good.
fucking year.
They
Whose
do,
idea-
they
Whose
do.
idea was that?
Why the Lions?
Right?
Why the Lions?
Like the Cowboys make sense. Oh, America's team. Fuck
37,
you.
44, and 2. Is that what? Yeah.
Yeah, 37-4. Not as bad as I thought it
Not
would be.
as bad as I thought it would be either. I think I remember they won a game on Thanksgiving with like David Blau at quarterback or some shit.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I remember watching that game at my grandma's house. David Blau was their quarterback, and they won the fucking game. He stepped out of bounds, didn't he? Yep. Yeah, I'm taking the Lions.
All right.
I'm taking the Lions.
Commanders at Cowboys. Does Sam Howell get his lick back?
No, Deron Bland gets his 5th pick 6 of the season.
Bro, he has
Probably
more touchdowns than
fifth
Kenny
and
Pickett.
5th and 6th. He does.
He has more touchdowns than Kenny Pickett. It's unreal.
Oh, my God, bro.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Cowboys too.
Taking the Cowboys
These
as well.
games have a real chance to be complete duds.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know,
That Packers-Lions game could be
Thanksgiving divisional games. You
melatonin,
never know.
though, after you eat the turkey,
Yeah.
food coma, man. These
Yeah.
games will put you right to sleep.
Hey, those first two, they wait till after, though.
Yeah.
They'll wait till after.
And then the
That's
nightcap, the San Francisco 49ers travel to Seattle to play the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to rock with the Seahawks here just to get some parity. Take one of the underdogs.
Fair.
Last
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, correct me if I'm wrong, was the final game of the night the Niners versus the Cowboys? I'm pretty sure it was. And that was a solid game. Like that was
Should
a
be
good game.
I don't remember.
I'll take the Niners.
I think this is gonna be a banger. I think this is actually gonna be a really good game. I'm gonna take the Niners as well, though. I think this is gonna be a fun
Seattle
one.
needs to want this one.
That
you know?
post Thanksgiving dinner, you're laying on the couch, you're trying to just watch some football. This is gonna be a good one, I think.
Yeah, maybe they're a
All right.
little. Yeah, you know.
So with that, shout out to our partners over at Thrive Fantasy, the best daily fantasy sports game on the market. When you sign up for Thrive Fantasy and use code BallGamePod, they will give you a deposit match up to $250. Again, that is code BallGamePod. Deposit match up to $250 on Thrive Fantasy. So we're going to each give you one prop that we're rocking with for the Thanksgiving games on Thrive Fantasy. I'll get it started. Brian Robinson, 11.5 yards for his longest rush. It's an easy over. That's the RB4 in fantasy football right now. Come on. Many men. Many men.
Many men.
Oh boy, Tom, who you got?
I have Jahmyr Gibbs over 77.5 rushing and receiving yards. Talked about him in the fantasy redraft. The guy's been going absolutely nuts.
77.5.
Yeah. And against that
Rushing and
Swiss
receiving,
cheese
yeah.
Green Bay Packers defense, it's a lock.
So I'm taking CD against the Swiss cheese Washington secondary. We already said it. CeeDee Lamb has been going off in the last few games. And I expect nonetheless, I expect more of the same. CeeDee Lamb's going to go for like 150 in this one. I pray. I can tell you right now, I definitely need
Somebody
him,
is
so.
going to have a big time game.
Oh, yeah. And then going to eat turkey post
Why? Yeah,
game,
exactly.
You know, like as per
Why
usual.
wouldn't it
So
be?
DK Metcalf. That's the guy.
I think he just went questionable on the
Don't
injury report
matter.
again
Hopefully,
for like the
hopefully.
15th time this season. But yeah, CD, big game. 93.5 rushing and receiving yards. We're taking the over on that one. Shout out Trev, bro. I see you in the chat over there. He said, love the Gronk jersey. Yeah, I do too. I hope the Patriots beat my Giants this week. He said, little parlay of the 3 games. Oh, come on. Of course.
Yeah, of
Of course. You got to parlay the 3, even though the odds are going to be like garbage because they're going to be heavily favored.
Shout out
But-
to Trev, man. Trevor Everett of the 2 Pointers podcast. If you guys don't
Shout
know
out
about
Trevor.
him, go check him out. The best college basketball content on all of social media. My man has been putting in that work so far this college basketball season.
Trev, we love and miss you, man.
Yeah, we gotta have
We
you.
gotta have you on
one
again
of these
soon.
days for an NBA episode. Maybe we do a little college basketball episode. Maybe
gotta
just have you
brush
on
up.
to check in.
I got to
We'll let him
up, man.
carry. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Have him come on and,
We-
and
yeah.
carry.
Yeah, I
Yes.
do not
Have
watch
him
much
feed
college
jokes about
ball.
what's going on in
Please,
the college
Yeah, yeah,
basketball.
yeah,
man.
for
I
sure.
want some college
That'd be
ball,
lit,
Trev.
Trev.
I am very
Appreciate
much
it.
behind the eight ball on that
I'm
one.
gonna go. All right, we got some TikToks.
Well, we got some TikToks.
Indeed,
Who's up
we
first?
do.
You
go ahead, Tom.
Yeah.
I'm up first. All right. So, the NBA version of this was a big hit. So now we have the, how do I word this in a social media TikTok friendly way?
How'd you do it for the other one?
Blind rank these NFL rap lines. Yeah. Blind rank these NFL rap lines.
Do that again, cause I
Yeah,
said yeah.
Blind rank these NFL rap lines. Okay, so first up we have someone somewhere. We have Lil Wayne. He's on here twice. But the first one we have is, so I stopped writing. Now I'm like lightning, and you ain't Vince Young, so don't clash with the Titan.
Ooh.
No, wait, let me say it again because I fucked it up. So I stopped writing. Now I'm like lighting, and you ain't Vince Young, so don't clash with the Titan. See, now it sounds better.
That's hard.
That's a good
hard.
fucking bar. Chris, you still have Thrive up, by the way.
That's fun.
Do the whole thing again.
Intro and all?
Everything again.
All right. So, blind rank these NFL rap lines. All right. So, first up, we've got one of the GOATs, Lil Wayne. So, I stopped writing. Now I'm like lighting. And you ain't Vince Young, so don't clash with the Titan.
Wow, that's hard.
Yeah, it's a wild bar. I love forcing reactions. Okay. Bro, Vince Young was such a dog in college on a side
Writing,
note.
lightning, Titan.
I'm gonna put that at 3. I feel like that's like there's gotta be something better. It's simple.
The safe bet is to put it at 3.
Right.
But, man, I'm thinking that might be 2.
Because it's NFL bars.
That's a really good bar.
That's a really good bar.
Clashing with the Titans?
Yeah, I'm moving like lighting. Yeah, Vince Young, Clash Lane. Yeah.
I'm going to put that at 2.
All right. Yeah, I'll stick.
Put it at 2?
I'll go with it. 2.
All right, next up, we got the man himself, Drizzy Drake. Just when shit look out of reach, I reach back like 1-3.
I love that line. It's such a classic.
Man, for the nostalgia.
It's such a Drake
Bro,
line.
like, I wish we put the other one at 3 now because I would put
For
that
the
at 2.
nostalgia, I think we got to put this one at 1, though, since we can't put it at 3.
Reach back like 1, 3, like 1, 3. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
got to go 1. He repeated it too. Come on.
He did, yeah, he did.
It's
that.
gotta go
3,
1.
like
Ad-libbed
1, 3.
So that's 1. All right, sick.
Oh shit.
All right.
I love Drake.
Next up, we've got Tribe Called Quest, specifically Phife Dawg, R.I.P. We've been known to do the impossible like Broadway Joe.
Repeat that. I'm sorry.
We've been known to do the impossible like Broadway Joe.
Mid.
Yeah.
5? Really?
Put that at 5.
It's a good one.
It's a nice bar.
That's
but
fine. It's 5. It's 5.
4.
4?
4? All right.
Actually, not 5. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with
5?
you.
Okay,
5.
that's fine.
So we have
That's a
3
great
and
song.
4
though. It's from
left.
Scenario.
3 and 4
It's a
left.
great one.
Okay.
All right, this one's kind of a long one because I got yelled at for not putting him in the last one. We got Hove, Jay-Z out here, and he says, "Can I live? I told you in '96 that I came to take this shit, and I did. Handle my biz. I scramble like Randall with his Cunningham, but the only thing running is numbers, fam.
That's a cool bar.
I scramble like Randall with his Cunningham, but the only thing running is numbers, fam.
I'll put that at 3.
I think that's
3?
3. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other one's Wayne, so it's got to go to 4, right? This is 4. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's at
so-
4, and it's Wayne.
This last one is also Lil Wayne, and he says, "Money Green, Yellow Broad, Aaron Rodgers MVP award. This is Green Bay, bitch. We go hard. This is Packer country. Where's your green card?"
Fuck, that was a great bar. It's at 4. I would rather put it at 3. I think that's a better line than the Jay-Z one, but
Yeah, other than that, though, I think
but
it's
yeah,
a
I
good
think we
list.
did well.
Good
Yeah, I
list,
think we
yeah.
did well. Also a notorious Packers fan is Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
Big time Packers
Yeah.
fan.
Yeah, I think this whole song could have been in here, but that's a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's that. All right.
All right, my work here is done.
Here we go. This is a big TikTok segment. We are talking about Thanksgiving this week, Thanksgiving dinner, all that good stuff. You know what else is a staple of Thanksgiving? Backyard football. Backyard football is a big time staple of Thanksgiving. So I want you to build your perfect post-Thanksgiving dinner backyard football team. That was a long one, but I don't know how to shorten it.
Build your post-Thanksgiving dinner backyard football team? That's
Yeah.
what you said? That
Yeah.
works perfectly.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
perfect.
perfect, cool.
How
You
many
know, like-
players are we drafting?
So we're gonna
5?
draft 6. We'll
6?
draft 6.
Okay.
We'll draft 6. There's no position locks at all. And it's strictly NFL players. No
Current
position
NFL
locks.
players.
You could take a corner. You could fucking take an offensive lineman if you
Right.
really wanted to.
Right,
If
make
you want
sure-
Evan Neal on your squad, go ahead
Yeah.
and pick him. But
Make sure you guys remember that it's backyard football. So there's one quarterback, everyone else is a receiver, and on defense, everyone is playing coverage.
and then
Right.
there's like a rusher, I guess,
of the
yeah.
passer, yeah. But
So-
pretty much everyone's in coverage.
But yeah,
it's backyard football.
You know, Uncle Jim's probably sloshed after fucking Thanksgiving dinner, and
Good
he's
old
thinking
Uncle
he's
Jim.
about to pull some Calvin Johnson shit in the end zone. Tyreek Hill's gonna say no, nah to that. Big shout out to LA Knight. But all right, let's do this. Who wants the first pick? Actually, everyone picking number 1 through 3.
Okay, I'll be 2.
3.
Picking number 1 through 3.
Wait, what's your number?
Number 3.
So I go first?
Wait, did you pick 3?
Yeah.
Okay, then you go first.
Oh, fuck. I got to go first, man. I feel so much pressure. Do you guys have a pick locked in?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Well, no, because I think you guys are going to draft both the guys I would draft. But, I mean, if I was picking number 1, yeah, I have a pick
You could have
locked
pick
in.
number 2.
All right, thanks.
Because I don't know who the fuck I'm
I
picking.
mean, when you're in the backyard, man, you got to have that number 1 safety blanket that you're going to throw that ball up to, and he's going to make a play. I'm going to pick Tyreek Hill. He's faster than everybody, and that's really what you're looking for in the backyard.
Yeah. All right. With the second pick in the draft, I'm going to take Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Pure athlete. He's going to get around that 7 Mississippi blitz easily every time, give you 5 to 10 yards easily. And I think Lamar Jackson will be a problem playing corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. All right, for me, I'm going to go right ahead and take, he might not be the second best receiver in the NFL, but you were talking about just throwing a jump ball and people that are just physically superior
Yeah.
than anybody else. It's A.J. Brown. That's my pick
Sure.
for backyard football. My first pick for backyard football.
We're not working backwards, right? I'm just going.
Oh, wait, yeah, we do. I'll do
Yeah,
back-to-back
you
then.
go.
Yeah, I'll do back-to-back. All right. Now, I kind of need a lockdown corner. You know, like, I definitely need a lockdown corner that has some hands. And he's got to have some swag, bro. Post-Thanksgiving dinner, he has to have some swag. I need him to lock down a guy like Tyreek Hill. None of the New York's own Sauce Gardner. Give me Sauce on my team. What a baller.
So with my next pick, I'm going to go with the best ball hawking cornerback in the NFL.
Yep.
A guy who could play corner and play receiver for me. He's perfect for backyard football. Give me Trayvon Diggs.
So I'm going to give us the best backyard football matchup ever, and I'm going to take his brother, Stephon Diggs.
Flyer.
Because I think those two would just have the time of their lives against each other, and they know each other better than anyone. I'm going to take Stephon Diggs with my second pick, and with the back-to-back, give me the man who can make something out of nothing. Give me Patrick Mahomes.
Of course.
Okay. Go ahead, Chris. All on
I
you.
want some IQ in that. You know, I want the uncle. I want the uncle that swears he would have gone pro if he didn't blow out his knee, and that's going to be Patrick Mahomes.
He looks like it.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
does. Yeah,
Yeah.
he has the look. That's fair.
Yeah.
With my next pick, I'm going to take DK Metcalf.
That's, yeah.
Big body receiver,
That was gonna
fast
be my
as
next
hell,
pick.
athletic specimen, beast in backyard football. I got a squad, bro.
You do got a pretty solid squad right now.
I'm cooking.
All right. You know what? You really do need a very athletic quarterback for your backyard football team. A guy that can make you miss, can run around people, do all that stuff. Uncle Jim's talking his shit. You need someone to run a guy over, right? Like, it doesn't always need to be the receiver. Sometimes you want that quarterback to just run a dude over. Who better than the man himself, the king of the Philadelphia? What the fuck is their? What's their the QB sneak name? What is it? I forget.
The tush push?
No,
The brotherly shove.
brotherly shove. The king of the brotherly shove. It is Jalen Hurts, the man himself. Built like a
So
Greek
it's back
god.
on me?
Oh wait, it's me again.
No.
Oh,
back to
yeah,
back.
it's on
It's me
you.
again. All right. This one's a little tough. All right. I talk about having swag. I'm gonna get a second corner because you know what? Coverage matters too. And this man talks all the shit, and I want that on my team. He just had a massive game in one of his first games back. That is Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey's got incredible ball skills as a corner, talks all that shit, and he's about it. I want Jalen Ramsey on my backyard football team. And Chris, it is back to you.
Man, they're going to clown me in the comments, but I'm going to go off vibes for this one. With my next pick, I'm going to take a guy who could do it all, perfect for backyard football. Give me my guy, Bijan Robinson.
Okay.
I have no idea what I'm going to do here.
There's one guy that it's shocking we haven't drafted yet, I think.
There probably is, and I'm going to piss people off in the comments, too, with who I pick. And it's not going to be him.
Going off vibes.
I'm going off vibes as well.
I'm also going off vibes. I'm going to take, you know what? If I don't have the best team, I'll have the drunkest team. I'm going to take Christian McCaffrey.
Why is McCaff going to get drunk?
No, that man's a partier, bro.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah. I'm taking Christian McCaffrey. He's also one of the best players with the ball in his hands. So
he's also handsome as fuck.
he is handsome.
Yeah, I get that pick. That's a good one.
You're telling me Tyreek, Diggs, Mahomes, McCaff, that's not the most lit team?
That was the lit team.
Come on, back to back, right?
Yeah.
I do. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck me, man.
I'm going to go 2 more rounds, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have 4 players.
I'm going to also take a shit talker, and I need a guy in coverage. Give me Jair Alexander.
Okay.
I want him to just gritty on somebody for no reason at all.
Love that.
Nice. With my next pick, I mean, you talk about the gritty.
Yeah.
Give me Justin Jefferson, man.
Jettas.
No explanation needed. What's understood doesn't have to be said.
Right.
All right, my pick is going to absolutely come as a surprise. But Chris, you mentioned something. You made 2 great points. A guy that could do it all and vibes. Who better than Taysom Hill in a backyard football game?
That's a good
Nobody better than Taysom Hill in a backyard football game. Look, you want to run a trick play? The man is a quarterback. You want to throw it to him? He's going to make you miss. He can run past you with 4.4 speed. Taysom Hill's a do-it-all guy. Hell, he can even play defense if I need him to. So there we go, Taysom. And then with my final pick, it's a wonder how the other gritty man didn't get selected to this point either, and that is Jamar Chase. Give me Jamar Chase all day, arguably the best receiver in all of football. That's my guy, and that's my final pick on my backyard football team.
With my final pick, I'm going to go with a guy who's 6'4", has like 4.3 speed. I'm going to go with Tariq Woolen, the pair next to DK Metcalf. 2 physical specimens.
Yeah,
Teammates.
that's not bad.
They got the chemistry already. Oh, why did I have the Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown stack? I didn't even realize that. Team chemistry.
Man, it's so tough.
Oh.
There's 3 guys I really want to take. Let me look at my team. You know what? My team doesn't have a lot of size. And you're going to need size in the backyard.
Definitely need
Definitely need
size.
size in the backyard. I need a guy that can go up there, get a 50-50 ball. Give me Mike Evans.
Okay. That's a great pick. That is a great pick. And that's it, right? That was the final one.
So, you want to rattle
who
off
was
our
everybody's team? Yeah.
Go ahead, Tom.
Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Patrick Mahomes, Christian McCaffrey, Jair Alexander, and Mike Evans.
Nice.
Go ahead, Chris.
So I have Lamar Jackson, Trayvon Diggs, DK Metcalf, Bijan Robinson, Justin Jefferson, and Tariq Woolen. Got a squad. My squad's nasty.
All right, my team is A.J. Brown, Sauce Gardner, Jalen Hurts, Jalen Ramsey, Taysom Hill, and Jamar Chase. My team is dirty. Dirty. Taysom Hill, the wild card, the best backyard football player of all time.
I feel like my team between Tyreek, Diggs, and Jair is going to talk all the shit.
All
of our teams are going to talk shit.
All of our teams will talk
I
shit.
really wanted to pick Derrick Henry with the last pick, but I couldn't have 2 running backs and not a jump ball option or Kelsey.
No, that's fair.
Yeah. All right. Which NFL running back would you rather have based on their stats? So, let me just make sure I, got all my stats that I need. Make sure I have a plethora of them.
That was a fun one, though.
Yeah, that was a
Like,
great
that's
idea.
the perfect opportunity for Taysom Hill to get his credit.
Yeah, if you're ever gonna give Taysom Hill his flowers, that's the chance to do it.
Backyard football is.
I really wanted
Taysom
to pick
Hill.
Lamar at first, and I was going to, and then Tyreek Hill popped into my head, and I was like, nah, I just want that little crackhead running around like no one's business.
I'm gonna send Jalen Hurts running routes with Taysom at quarterback.
Yeah, you really could.
So, player A has 661 yards. He's rushing for 3.3 yards per carry. He has 5 rushing touchdowns. And he has a PFF rushing grade of 68.4.
Who the fuck has this many?
Is that out of
rushing
100?
yards?
Huh?
PFF is 100, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Player B has 558 yards. Also 5 touchdowns. Well, no, I said yards per attempt first, right?
Yards per
Yeah.
carry.
Player B has 5...
It's late.
Player B has 558 yards. He rushes for 4.0 yards per carry. He also has 5 touchdowns. And he has a PFF rushing grade of 75.2.
Who the fuck has that many
I
rushing
couldn't tell
yards
you who
with
many.
3.3 yards per carry? Jesus Christ. I'm gonna go with player.
Should I do the receiving stats too?
Yes, honestly, more
You know what?
context.
Yeah. All right. I'll throw it in there. So in terms of receiving, player A has 265 receiving yards and 0 receiving touchdown. 265 receiving yards, 31 receptions, and 0 receiving touchdowns.
Okay.
Player B has 314 receiving yards, 27 receptions, and 3 receiving touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, I was already gonna pick him before, but after the receiving stats, I'm definitely gonna go player B.
Yeah, I'm gonna take player B as well. Can I guess who player A is? I think it's Alvin Kamara.
No.
Fuck.
Player A is
Oh,
Josh
it is
Jacobs, and
That's what I
player
thought.
B is Brian Robinson. Many men. Many.
Insane, bro. That's. So
I thought
crazy.
player A was Josh Jacobs.
Yeah,
Because I was like, that many yards on 3.3 yards per carry.
He's
Yeah,
the
I'm
only guy.
disappointed in
Him or
myself.
Derrick Henry.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
are the
I'm
only
so
two
disappointed
guys.
in myself for that. Yeah,
All right.
that was
Is that
fun.
everything?
That's the end. Thank God.
Yeah, that was a long one, man. It was
All
a
right.
fun one.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We do have a podcast tomorrow. Please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. NBA pod tomorrow. Check out all of our other videos that we've posted this past week. There's a whole lot of them. Some of them are getting some decent views right now, might I add. But follow us on all of our socials. And with that, ball game.
Ball game.